Hello, everybody on live stream, and welcome to the 24th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And once again, as usual, we're here with Mr. Kesh, and with there'll be a few people from the Spaceship Institute as well as the evening goes on. Whoa, that was a big cough.
Sorry about that.
That was Mr. Kesh making his appearance. And I think Marek's online too from the Spaceship Institute, so that's interesting. Or is it? Oh, sorry, Marco, not Marek. And okay, so we're ready to begin, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Kesh, and he'll get things going here. And we have a few people with questions, and I know Sandor in particular has some questions that he'd like to get answered, and a few other people as well. So let's carry on. I'll give it over to you, Mr. Kesh, and allow you to do your thing.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I think we should say hello, planet Earth. Wherever you are, I hope we can further the knowledge of ourselves and what we know with workshops like this. As the Knowledge Seekers this group is on holiday still for another week, I think, after this. So we are more or less on a dormant condition. Some things are getting done and some work is getting done in the background. The reactors are all in a running condition. Very interesting positions are coming up with new reactors which are Gans fed. The situation with our animals with the frogs is that we had to run a test specifically for a specific condition to see the reaction, and with carrying on that test we lost all the 3 frogs in one go, the frogs and the tadpoles. So we are waiting to see how the next step is going to be. We still have 2 tadpoles which are kept originally, they have not changed, but through a test for part of the what we call the World Health Organization test, we did a test and to understand the condition, and within less than 4 hours we lost 2 tadpoles, and then 48 hours later we lost the frog. There is a specific characteristics with them. So we are monitoring the condition in the tank to see the progress and what will happen next. The situation with everything else is as the same, and it seems the whole world is on holiday when Italy goes or Europe goes on holiday for us on this end. If, on the other hand, the Italians are trying and testing their torch and the torch system, they have emptied the battery, they're loading 2 batteries at the same time. Hopefully this week they should see the progress. They had a loaded 1/2 load and full load battery. So it took them nearly a week to empty one of the batteries. And now they have rewired it, and we'll see how it loads up. They have gathered some information and data on how it can be loaded, but at the same time we are using what we have with our system here. Is there any other question? Are there any questions?
Perhaps Sandor would like to march right in there with your questions, eh?
Yes, I have some question Because there are so many people who are trying to replicate the experiments which are easy to make, like Gans capture after succeeded the nanomaterial production. And unfortunately, there are some fellows who were disappointed by their own failure to produce what they expected, and they start to make all kind of rumor and assertions that produced material is something else. So that's why it would be very useful if you could advise what kind of method we could do easily to test if created material is, for instance, CO2 Gans and not something else. In the ninth knowledge seekers presentation about Fukushima, I remember Mr. Cash told about Gans that it can't be destroyed by acid, for instance. So an acid test could be much easier to do at home and not so costly as an infrared spectroscopy done at a special laboratory. So is there some method to differentiate the materials in Gans form from other kind of sediment materials, such like precipitates of different oxides? So that would be very useful also for those who want to check if the outcome of their experiment really produced what we expected. So I'm thinking it would be good to have such an experiment or a test method either by physical or by chemical properties, which could be done to make a difference between Gans and non-Gans materials.
This is a very nice question. We put it this way, I've never thought of setting up a test for it because I've tested in different ways. Let me think about it. Yes, we can do. I think when the knowledge seekers come, we'll set this up. Because I test with acid, we test with different materials. And they stay, then keep their condition as they are. Let me think about it. I will definitely do this in the first month we are back. You're
Thank
correct.
you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
never
very
thought
much.
of it. Yeah, it has to be done. You're correct. Let us find a way to do it, and we show different tests most probably to show how to understand the separation between the Gans and Gans. Even the institutes who do the testing with Raman spectroscopy, they have problems with different sediments because of the plasma condition of the Gans. In some cases, depends where they take the material from the tube after testing. On the top they see CO2 and on the bottom they see CO3Ca or they see CO3K. We've seen this in Raman spectroscopy and I have some reports on this. So you're correct. Let us think of a way and we'll most probably do it and the knowledge seekers will release it.
Thank you very much. So my purpose is to make this knowledge be understood by experiments which are easy to replicate, as you exposed earlier when you started this knowledge seekers movement. So
yeah,
intention is
you're correct. You're correct. I mean, till it doesn't come from grassroots, from people, what problem they have, we don't see it. We are very much cocooned in our own shell here and the way we do research. So you're correct, we have to, I never thought of this, so let me work on it. By the time the knowledge seekers are back, as usual, Armin and Marco and John will show a way to do it and they'll post it.
Recently it was a gentleman, Spanish-speaking gentleman, Felipe Ponce Espinosa. That his name means with spines or with thorns. He had very thorny comments in the recent period. So after he failed to achieve by his experiments the desired result, and he became very negative. And when I talked with him via Skype comments, I found out that in fact he is not antagonistic, such like those who are paid to troll on the forums against people. Just I think he would like to confirm, to justify his own failure. If everybody else fails, in that case he was successful. But I think his mind is changed, and now he's repeating again experiments, and hopefully he will document it. So we.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The thing is, we see a lot of this at the moment. A lot of people are testing different things and getting different results. In some cases, people who go to produce Gans, they got to realize they have to create a condition of the energy extraction from the liquid they use, the salt they use. You have to have a process at least of current flow. Plasmatic current flow is the backbone of creating the Gans, because you reduce or increase the environment for the nanomaterials to be released from the surface of the solid state matter. There is people are testing, and as you said, we have to see it and how it is. Everybody is not, as you say, opposing the foundation. It's just that as they don't understand, they get frustrated. We've seen this even in the books. It's very correct. We know, for example, in the past few weeks, there is a guy who bought a book. The book has been sent, and through the blockage by the people who are trying to block, what do you call it, distribution of the books. He got angry and he paid people to attack the server. Our server people, our webmasters team approached him, why are you launching this kind of attack? He says, I bought a book, they didn't deliver it to me, so I'm taking my revenge. But his book is sitting something like 30 kilometers from him in a, what do you call it, in a depot. So this is how we are facing these kind of things, so we don't mind. The opposition...
Good PR is needed. Good PR is needed to show to the environment, yes, that we are doing good things. We are not doing anything against them. And such cases can be handled with some skill and with some communication.
Thank you very much for your work. The process is very simple. It's that you people understand different people's languages, and you can communicate to solve these problems. We don't see it. We don't have that kind of access to every language. So you understand the Spanish. Thank you very much for your work. Is there any other question?
Yes, please. Sorry again, me. How about is there any record about which concentration of salt is ideal for CO2 capture? Because I made also with concentrated, saturated salt solution, and now I made a setup with only 2% salt in the water. So which would be an optimum solution for obtaining good results?
Never done. We have never scaled it. The knowledge seekers can tell you we just add salt and whatever it is, because one of the processes we have when we start is that after a while, as the units, the water evaporates, we keep on adding water to it. And sometime during the last months, I think John came up and says that we were keep on adding salt water to the containers, and we found out we're increasing the concentration. So we changed to natural water. We never done this, but to my understanding from all the experiments I've done over time, is that the concentration of the salt is part of the process, because the the magnetic gravitational field environment in each section dictates what is happening in there, plus the environmental magnetic field. As you've seen, especially if you use a cubic boxes, you use more or less the same salt, the same wires, and in one you get the CO2, and in one you get CH3, and in another one you get CO. So the salt concentration is so much part of the equation. But the field, because this salt is part of the matter condition, is the field interaction of the gravitational-magnetic field of the gases in each compartment decides. Some times ago I did a test. I allowed the amount of the CO2. I didn't touch a box, a cubic or cell in a box, and I thought if the amount of CO2 will increase, will it affect the other sides? In one case it did, in another case didn't do, because the total environment was dictating it. If you go back in one of the first few videos, I think we put up was that two cells are in reddish color and one cell is white and one cell next to it is brown, and the other one is, what do you call it? Red, not brown, but the other one is white again. I don't think the salt content has much effect, but it has an effect in the production of the protein, not much on the production of the change of the gases. You'll find a direct effect of the salt content will be on protein production.
Okay, so this will be a good subject for our private experiments, which we do at home.
I think somewhere we have to start putting a point that people, like your Wikipedia, we have to establish that people can add into it. I think Keshe Foundation Wikipedia has to be set up somewhere down the line. That people can add, they can't correct, because I don't agree the way the Wikipedia is set up, because there are some people who have a limited knowledge and they dictate according to the knowledge what can go on Wikipedia. It's not a free point of reference that you can add knowledge to knowledge. So still again, it's the peer review condition in Wikipedia. And that's why you find a lot of people have problem with this setup, with this organization.
So no previous notes shall be deleted nor altered. So no previous records shall be deleted, shall be preserved as they are. If there is some new knowledge that can be mentioned, so it is
it's added.
It's a better version. But anytime then there will be a possibility to revert to an older version which may be worked. So I think that would be a good way of storing.
We need to look at setting up like a Wikipedia setup for this technology. But this is something which it has to be done sooner or later. But we don't know. We'll see how we can do it, how it will be done. But there is no limit.
Yeah. So Marek Istvanek already made a website which started to work under the address openmagneticlight.net, where articles can be added. So that will be maybe a good starting point. And after gaining more experience with it, can change to a better one. Oh, sorry for I talk so much.
I didn't know this. No. Carry on, because we can't have the same people asking the same questions. Thank you very much for opening our eyes to some problems which is sitting there.
It's something that we've known about for a long time, but I think Sandor is the one to point that out. So thank you, Sandor, for pointing out something that we definitely needed to know and a question that needed to be asked. But I just wanted to tell you my experience as well. is that 50% or 5%, you still get Gans.
Yeah, you get. I think the level of the salt is dictates the production of the amino acids on the top layer.
Yeah, it's a
This is
different
very,
condition, the condition of sea, a different condition, the condition of human blood.
yes, very much so. We've seen this, if I can go in the other direction, expanding on the knowledge a little bit, is that we see partially the creation of trying to phrase it in the right way. The production of cholesterol in blood vessels has very much to do with the salt content or collection of the salt content of materials within the blood. So, because cholesterols are, and in points, certain points of the physical blood vessels, arteries, a condition is created, that the salt condition in the blood, because even blood has its own salt, even the brain has its own salt for production of its own cells. When the salt condition changes, then we'll see residual of protein, what we call cholesterol. And then whatever the organs which are responsible for production of different amino acids in the body will take it as a reference point, and attach, and it grows and escalates to further reproduction of the same thing. So the salt content in the physical way in man's body is what do you call it? Is the same condition as a salt density, or of the salt content within the blood, and it can come through different ways, but different habitual eating creates that condition. And
Meanwhile, it has been observed that the level of the emotional tone influences very much what kind of materials are produced in the body. So anger makes a lot of cholesterol production, and there's a higher blood sugar, preparing the body for a fast action for defending himself. When it is somebody in fear, body prepares to run away. And if it cannot run away, it gets into terror, then it creates poisons to make his meat to not be edible. It's a very interesting thing.
We usually, our body is our psychological or emotional part dictates our way of physical operation. We emotionally, we see that majority of the diseases or ailments or change of condition in the body, which is not enforced from outside, is done by the emotional part enforcing itself, its condition on the physical part. So you're quite right, it can be done, and we've seen it in reversal of different conditions. But they change the salt content in different positions, and that leads to different release of what do you call it, proteins, and what we call the conditions of the blood in cholesterols or sugar. It says, so what salt mixture? Saturation is ideal for good blood health. It depends what your body is made of. Depends on where you live. It depends in what condition you live. Different food habits we have observed create different condition for salt level within the blood. In a lot of nations, salt is deliberately added to a lot of food because of the environmental condition that the blood can sustain and operate, or the body can operate in that area. Where in other part of the world we don't accept that kind of so much salt in the food. There is understanding of physicality and condition with the environment, with the cholesterol and the body content, but so they call salt of the within the blood and the tissues. There is no figure that you can fix and say this is what it's going to be, what is the best, what is good for you can be lethal to somebody else, and what is normal to the others can become unacceptable to you. This is what we observe. Eskimos don't have access to salt the way the rest of the human race does, but they still carry and they only eat certain type of food. And we see the same with people in desert. The food is restricted in what is available to them. And we see both having near enough similar conditioned blood, but it's slightly different. Next question.
I would like. Okay, go ahead, Lemno.
Yeah, I would like to share my experience because we were talking about Ganses. For sure, nanomaterial gets dissolved in ferric chloride.
In what?
Ferric chloride. It's a solution for etching printed circuit boards, and I nano-coated copper wires, and the nanomaterial with the copper wire got dissolved inside.
Can you give me the formula? What's this formula?
Fe3Cl, I think. Let me check on the internet and I'm gonna post it. FeCl maybe.
What does it do? Does it actually totally takes it? Because we done some tests that you see the top layers of nanomaterial removed, but you don't stop the process.
Well, dissolve completely the wire too.
Yeah, but does the process of production of nano layer stops altogether if you leave it aside?
Well, the wire just disappears. Gets dissolved by the liquid.
Does the wire disappear before the nanomaterial, or both at the same time?
Pretty much both at the same time, I would say.
It might be a way to dissolve the copper inside and leave the nanomaterial shell, like Mr. Kesh was talking about.
That's what I was trying to do, but
okay.
I was trying to dissolve the copper and keep.
Yeah, but this doesn't solve our problem. We want to, when you destroy, I think what you do is the reverse of the way we create nano layers with this process. Because the acid takes the copper away, then you change the gravitational magnetic field from the bottom layer to the top. The way you create the nano layers from the bottom to the top, from internally from the copper up, now you change the environment in that bottom layer which is in contact with the copper. When that goes, you change the environmental condition, you lose it. This is not a solution, I don't think so. I'm looking for a condition. You change the gravitational magnetic field environment of the production. So you reverse it. This is the reverse process. We want to see a condition that without the material, the gas which we separate can be dissolved. And what dissolves what? And this is the process. And one of the ways, as Rick said, we done a test a few years ago. If you want to keep a perfect nanotube, after you made your copper wire or whatever, make a hole, or keep your tube, if you can hold it without crushing it, in a vertical position, put it in an oven at high temperature, and the copper literally runs out, melts out, and you have a perfect nanotube. This is the only way we have managed up to do it with because the nanomaterials don't burn in that sense. They stay intact. So if you leave it in the oven, the nano layers will not disintegrate. But the copper just melts out and runs out.
Well, my idea was, my idea was trying to etch it to get the nanomaterial because I don't have high temperature oven. That's why.
Yeah, but the thing is, you to me, because I looked at this process before. What you do, you're creating you're changing the condition from inside out. Because you dissolve the copper in the acid dissolves the copper. As the nano layers or gravitational magnetic field materials, you take internally, you take the environment they were stuck to, they were in balance. So you disturb it in a way you peel the orange from inside out. So that, I don't think that's the solution. It's good to get rid of it, but it's not a solution to be able to decode, what they call it, take the copper material out in Mongo. I'm looking at the process at the moment with the Italians. If we succeed, we let you know and how it is and how it's been done. There's a piece of advice from the test we done for this condition on the frogs. Please do not consume or use any of your Gans materials. We are doing a program to do with the health at the moment, and my recommendation to you is please avoid in any shape or form touching or consuming or being in touch with the Gans materials so much as even the nano layers. We have seen, we are observing, and I'll explain it to you what has happened in what we are observing. The material will be removed from the institute for further analysis. But you'll find out that what we are observing is that the Gans material jellifies on the cell. In a way, it suffocates the cell. This is what it looks like to me, because magnetic gravitationally creates an insulation, a barrier around it. What we saw, very much like what I was explaining to the scientists, the capture of the drones a few years ago, where you magnetic field gravitationally isolate the unit in space. Through the same process, now we see the part of this process with this test, where the Gans creates literally a shell around the animal, and animal literally suffocates.
Mr. Kesh, is there a way of coating the Gans so that it's still effective without it actually, transferring materially into cells of a body and so on? In other words, to fix it in place.
I have looked at it. There is a material in the market, but it has chemicals in it. And it's built for a specific purpose, and then it's been banned in some countries. You can get hold of it. There is a spray. In England you can get it in some specific places, what they call the chemists. Some chemists have it. It's a silicone spray which is invisible, and they spray it around the like patio doors and the doors between the garden and the house. And embedded in this silicone spray is chemicals that ants don't like to cross, so you don't get any ants and God knows in your house. This silicone spray is so thin that it actually is like a gel. It solidifies on it, but it has a time span. After a few weeks, disappears. I'm looking for that kind of silicone spray. If it works and how long it lasts, we don't know, because it will not sit on the material itself, because it keeps that separation, electromagnetic field separation. And we'll see if that's the only solution we have seen. Some people use cling films in a very thin way to cover it, but you can't sit and do it on every wire.
What about with the cups of life, or do they have a technique to protect the Gans from leaving the cup when water is added and that sort of thing?
No, there is no gas produced in these cups. There is no
They
gas produced.
They don't have a Gans coating though on them, or
they have a nano coating, but they don't have a gas. Gas material is when it's separated, it becomes individual.
Okay, so there's no Gans coating. It's just the nanomaterial coating. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, but the Gans, you can't put Gans coating. Gans is a floating material. It's like a gel as you've seen it, or you powder it.
But aren't there cups in different colors in terms of white and blue and green and so on? And is that not part of it, or?
No, that's created because of those colors are created because of the material we use as a base material to produce them.
Okay, and that's created from water that would be put inside, I presume, or?
Yes, it's the way the liquid and the composition we put in and duration we use. Each duration has different effect and different condition. This, I've seen people making a lot of things. I've seen you sending me a picture, what do you call it, with a lot of bars next to each other from winds that he wants to speak about. You create the condition and you try to isolate it. I've used cling films, I've used what do you call it, papers they use for baking cakes. At the moment, because there is a problem in production of the batteries at the moment, which we are looking into this very, very closely. Even yesterday with the Italian group, we were sitting around the table trying to find a solution for this. Because your nanomaterials, we're trying to find a way that we can produce a continuous production or do different things with it, that the production of the batteries can become literally automatic. Maybe we find a solution in Japan in the coming weeks with a manufacturing company there. But once we learn it, we'll share it. We will share the knowledge. But this is something we are looking in at the moment, how to isolate at the point of junctions of the wires from each other and from not creating reverse flow. because there are different ways to do it. The process is something now that we're going into commercialization by the Italians and the Japanese. We have to find a solution. If we don't do, other people will find a solution and we share it. If you find a
So
solution,
you were talking about that picture, Mr. Kesh?
With the picture you sent.
Do you want me to show that picture, Vince, or is that okay or no?
I don't see any problem with it.
Well,
if you want to speak private, leave it private. If you want to change to what do you call it? Because you said you want to discuss it in the workshop.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss it. I mean, I see it as it's an idea for people to try to expand on other people's ideas, and you know, sometimes it just takes that visual and that explanation of another device to get another idea for something else. So you've seen the picture then, and do you understand the structure that it's in?
No, the way it looks to me, you put a number of wires next to each other.
Yeah.
And it's in like a cellophane, or in I don't understand what is holding it together. I don't understand the packaging.
Okay, so let me explain the picture, and maybe you can let us know what you would interpret this as doing. So what we have here is a capacitor.
You keep on getting lost. Your voice keep on getting lost.
Sander, can you mute, please?
Yeah. Carry on.
Thank you. So it's a capacitor in terms of its structure. So I have, let's go from the top to the bottom in that picture. And on the top of it, you'll see 9 nano-coated wires, which are on top of a piece of aluminum foil, which is then on top of a piece of nano-coated copper foil, which then has a piece of plastic in the middle, and then it's exact. There's a piece of copper nano-coated foil, a piece of aluminum, and then 9 more wires that are nano-coated. So what I've noticed with this structure
let's go through it. You have put 9 wires next to each other.
Yeah.
You have put them on a film of aluminium. Yeah. And the aluminium has got another layer behind it with a copper-coated nano layer.
Yeah.
And then you put a film, plastic film or a silicon film for separation.
That's right.
And then you repeated the same thing again.
Yes.
Okay, carry on.
In the pictures, at one end, you'll see some aluminum just over top of the wires. I was just doing that to be able to have a good connection so that I could hook my meter up to it easily and not have a bad connection. And the first thing that I noticed was that it wasn't producing very much DC voltage at the beginning. But right off the bat, I got 1 volt of AC. And so what I've done, and I've tried to experiment with, is that it is almost like a sensor of sorts for a human body, because I can touch any part of the circuit that is connected to this, and it will increase the AC voltage. So I can hold on to the plastic on the sides, like you see in some of the pictures, and it will go to 2.2 or 1.3 volts AC. I can hold the multimeter, and it'll also go to 800 or
Well, how long
1
does
volt.
it hold? How long does it
It
hold?
stays there as long as you touch it.
So where do you do your connection? Can you explain this to everyone?
So the connection is at the aluminum strip on each side. So it's in the pictures you can see there's aluminum strip on one side, and of course it's exactly opposite the other side. And it's still part of that same aluminum strip that's that the nano-coated wires are on top of. So
yeah, but
it's a connection. It's not solder.
Can you explain that? Are your aluminum foils connected to each other, or is it just like sheets, like what do you call it, a cake layer?
It's just like a cake layer.
They're not connected. One layer of aluminum is not connected to another one. So what you're doing is just literally measuring voltage between the two aluminiums with a nano layer on one side. Nano, what do you call it? Sorry, a sandwich. You're using a sandwich. Okay, carry on. No,
So
I'm just trying to go into detail that everybody understands what you're doing.
Yeah. So the AC that I would expect, or what I see out of this, I try to attribute it to the magnetic field that's created from the nano coated coppers, which are interacting with each other with a dielectric in between them, and it's what I see is draining one side and then draining the other side. So I wouldn't say it's going to a reverse polarity situation. I would just say that it's going to a peak-to-peak measurement on the multimeter. So it looks like it adds to the magnetic field when there's a magnetic field around it, as in the plasma magnetic field of our cells. That's just what I can explain it as.
Yeah, but can we extend and expand the knowledge? If we had the camera, I would have shown it to you. We done this about 4 or 5 years ago plus. In 2005, NASA had a problem. It wasn't NASA's problem, but NASA wanted to understand what's happening with this situation with astronauts with their flashing lights in their eyes. I've explained this before in my talks. So they commissioned Washington University to do a research in finding out how the radiation in the upper space can be stopped reaching the eye of or the liquid in the eye of the astronauts, that they don't get these flashing light, photon lights. For this reason, I developed very much what you're talking about. Exactly more or less what you're talking about. And we have seen current flow in the layers. What I've done is, I usually show it. If I had the camera, I could have shown it this here. I call it the longest piece of diamond structure ever seen by man. I took one of the copper sheets from a battery, coated it, and then I did the same thing. I took the other aluminum sheet from the same battery, cleaned it. So I've done an aluminum, nano-coated, and a copper line, another copper sheet. This, we tested it through X-rays and other materials. Absorbs more or less 99% of the cosmic rays and converts them into energy. So what we've done now, instead of using copper wire, what do you call it, copper strip, which I use, you're using copper wires coated. This gives you a very high AC voltage. I usually carry this in a like a folded box. I show it. You're correct. What you achieve is you absorb partially the plasma condition of the body, which comes from the body. If you ever test your nano wires, it's a very interesting test to do. Keep your meters contacts on the wire and just blow at it. just blow out the wire in a distance, not directly.
I've done that.
Like, and you see the voltage goes very high. It's the energy which you transfer as part of the Gans of your body as you blow into the meter.
I actually, I did that experiment last week with my maple syrup bottle reactor with a copper-coated, Brillo copper-coated scrubby pads stuffed inside of it. And they were nano-coated, it was all black inside the bottle. And I stuck a brass tube down inside the bottle. And I had 2 electrodes in there taking the voltage at the same time. And you're exactly right. I breathed into it through the tube. And I figured the CO2, at least, if not the energy from my breath, would make a difference. And I could influence the voltage, definitely, with the breath on that device.
Yes, but you find out is
but
that
it's not only the breath; it's just the presence.
it's when you breathe out. Yeah, well, yeah, yes, partially yes, you can be present. It doesn't change that much. But when you breathe, because as I explained in other workshops, that how the material in the lung changes, you release part of the material as Gans out of your lung. So because it's in that condition, immediately gets absorbed by the layer. Because it's in the same gravitational magnetic field condition, and the wire is the first thing which after the between you and the material comes to. It receives that energy. This goes back to a lot of has a lot of application. Why I did, or you can extend it in a way of knowledge seeking further, but with pleasure. It's the what we give when we kiss. Is that energy which I was explaining in some workshops before. Now you can physically see, measure the amount of energy you give, the amount of energy you transfer from one body to another. This, if you get this wire and just blow at it and the speed of the blow, the continuity of the blow, how you blow, will give you different voltages, different readings. You can read sometimes up to 70, 80 mil. But if you stop
I've
reading,
seen a couple of hundred.
Yes, I was up to a couple hundred myself as well, but the increase was 70 or 80 mil actually, from 120 up to 200. Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of thing you see that then you understand the transfer of energy just by breathing, and this is partially. If you can get in the clothing like this, you can see how much energy you absorb and how much energy you give into your environment, because you can block the process in one way and see how much the voltage comes. And then that's what we say. This test we did was the reason I say always 80% of the energy we receive is from the environment, because of this test we did. And now you've done it in a different way, you'll realize we receive huge amount of energy from the environment. And comes through this test which we did to make a shielding for a helmet for NASA astronauts.
But we receive the environment, but we also provide to the environment.
Yes, of course, but what we give is in a different strength, and what we receive is in a different strength. So we receive it, we take what we like from it, and then we send it back. The skin of the man, the 3 layers of the skin, is very much like exactly what you made, upside down. The plastic is the outer skin. The what do you call it? The aluminium is the inner middle layer, and your nano coating is inside with a Gans, which converts that into a Gans, and it adds into the lymph. The whole structure is very, very, very interesting. One of the reasons in the future, I always say, scientists will measure the lymph strength of the miners when they're in the mine, and when they're outside the mine is totally different. If you measured it through the same principle as you tested. When the camera's open, I've shown this to the knowledge seekers. They've seen these 3-layer sheets. You
Would
can
it be an
measure
increase or a decrease?
Depends partially on which organ you put it, which part of the body. Depends on the state of the emotion. It depends on the material environment around you. You see, let's take this a step further. We go a little bit in depth in what you made and
I'm
what
just
we've
thinking
done
about the
before.
coal mines.
Yes, it depends in what environment they are, in what material they're working with.
I was thinking in terms of John Francois' report that came out recently. Have you seen that, Mr. Kesh? I sent it.
No.
Oh, you'll be very interested in that, because it's his report is about a reactor. He's taking the magnetic fields in 3 directions, like from the readings, and he does that over time and shows a graph of it. And when people enter into the room, like his young child or himself, when he uses intent and attention, you can see how the magnetic fields are definitely changed on this very nicely laid out graph. I can post the pictures on live stream, but I
think it's probably a good idea, Rick. And Mr. Kesh, I think you'd be very interested to see that document.
No, we see it
here. Laid it out very good.
Don't forget,
yes,
we
exactly.
did the same thing with the knowledge seeker sitting in front of the reactor. We see that.
Exactly. That's right.
Even I've done a correction since knowledge seekers have left for holidays. Through the same principle, in the lab we have 3 windows. 1 comes from the north and 2 come from the east. Depending on which side the sun comes into the lab, we get different readings in the morning, daytime, and nighttime. Now I make a correction for it, because if it's a nice sunny day, the readings are different than when it's at night, when it's just what is the environment totally. So I have changed a lot of readings into evening and morning sessions. That during the day I put this thing aside. This radiation coming and blocking, and what you detect as a AC voltage. This is the energy which comes from outside, or it comes from your body. This energy as photons or cosmic rays, when enter the body of the astronauts in upper layers, where they go out, even at the present, with all the protections they've created in the present international lab up in the sky, they receive still high dosages of radiation. But as I explained in other talks, is that as you hold your unit against your body, you see up to 3 volts. This is the radiation which is created. You have to measure the current. The current is very much different. It's very, very low. This is the problem very with this. Yeah, the problem is not the voltage. The problem is the current. This low current is very much at the current level of the neurosystem of the human body. This is the
max I've seen charging a capacitor was 25 microfarads or microamps. Sorry. So it's very,
this
very
is
low.
The problem. Yeah, our body doesn't work on kilowatts. our neurosystem work on that level. So what happened is that why we offered this to NASA and to this guy, who the professor who was supposed to do the research for NASA in Washington University, was that these fields, as they enter in millions and millions and millions of them, literally every second per square meter. Now you get a human body and you get this radiation coming in. Part of these radiations get absorbed by the skin. Then partly the skull absorbs part of the radiation. Then you have the brain structure that this radiation goes through it. And partially these radiations are absorbed by the brain. Then partially whatever is left, which does not enter directly through the eye, enters the liquid of the eye, and part of this becomes a photon. And you see it as a light. The problem is, these radiations, if you do not stop them in deep space, in no time will go, especially at the high speeds you go, and the way you work, they will literally, with the voltage they create and the current, very low level current they produce, lead to a lot of disabilities and a lot of, what do you call it, disorders, psychological disorders, because they create a current on the current of the level of the emotional part of the brain. And then the physical part takes that energy as information coming from the emotion and reacts to it. Then this low current emotion surge has to be, as an information, be sent to the part of the rest of the physical part to become actions. And when there is such a huge surge of information, as I explained before, in the back of your skull, there is a switch. It's literally a capacitor. There is a blocker. There is a switch that at a certain level of information, current flow through the spinal cord, it cannot take, so it switches off. Then you have coma. And if this process carries on in a switching on and off, you get Parkinson shocks or epileptic shocks. Depends. So this is one of the reasons on the health side we look very deeply into coma and mental disorders like MS and ILS and other factors, because of what you literally made in a piece of unit with a nano coating that absorbs your energy, and you can see the high voltage, very low current in the space. This is why a lot of astronauts are taken off the scene, especially the Russian astronauts we do not see. They are not in public eye. Astronauts who stayed, initial astronauts who stayed in the first laboratories for 6 months or so, the amount of radiation absorbed by their body, by their brain, and converted into information has led to mental disorders. So
I have a question.
So you understand with the little test you've done how deep the foundation work goes and what we've done and what we are looking at. The current, because of the current, very low current, this current, amazing enough, is at the level enough as the current which the emotional part releases as the plasma to the physical part of the body for its work. And the body, the brain section, the physical part of the brain, takes this and order, because it receives it, it matches to the emotional part information as an order, and it carries it out.
So if that's the case,
yeah,
then with this sort of device that I show with be able to touch it and receive or just see the voltage, that means it's obviously taking it from ourselves, and just like you said, on that same level. Would that not be a way to be able to remove that excess energy if this was tuned to the right energies?
Yeah, but this is used. We are using this for a specific health sections. This is part of you. You have touched as part of the medical side, which I teach or I develop now. You got to realize you cannot release it if you do not give it back equal what it needs. Then it goes internally and takes from the lymph what it needs. It's a very delicate situation.
Right, because you can remove the wrong thing.
Yes. You create a wrong environment in that position. So this is why people like Elia and other doctors who want to join the foundation, we teach this in a very correct way. It has to be done. They have to understand the structure of it. They have to understand. The problem we'll have in the future, as I see it even now, and I try to resolve it with Ivan being here, is that we need medical people with a good knowledge of medical science like Ivan, with a good knowledge of building systems and the reasons why they build system for what they system. Because doctors like Elia cannot build systems. But doctors like Ivan, who can understand and translate the information from one side to another, and having the ability and the knowledge to build the systems for it, can do that for them. This is one of the future problems. We've done a lot of work in this area.
I'll attribute that to being a dentist, working with his hands.
Yeah, but you have surgeons too. The surgeons are the same as dentists. A lot of surgeons do a lot of artwork, the sculpture, because they have such a gorgeous steady hand. The general practitioners, usually a few of them have outside hobbies, but you find dentists and surgeons usually do these kind of things because they are used to. They test their own abilities sometimes. What you have done or what you have shown, I was very glad to see you putting that out. And when Rick showed it to me or sent it to me, I thought this is a point to go into some detail about both now the application of the technology as you go with application of the health section. It's very important. The way the knowledge seeker and these programs are building up is absolutely perfect, because you bring the structure in and we add to the knowledge. It's not a one-way system anymore. So let me just say something, please, Rick. With what you've shown, you have actually created the skin of the man. If you could put liquid on one side of your nano layer, you will see ganses releasing in a very beautiful way. And those ganses become, if you can do it in a correct way, they become amino acid. They are at the same energy plasma of the amino acid. So the production of amino acid controlled mainly under the skin, by the skin itself, in what it released to it. So go a step further. If you can put your system upside down and on one side create a gel liquid condition, and you see what kind of ganses you get. And then you will understand the process of the creation.
That was my next.
Of it. Yeah, you will see it, and then report to us. But something you got to do, if you can do, put a thermometer just on that layer and measure the temperature.
But here's something I have done that I will say, and I haven't seen anything of it yet. I have used my own spit on the nano-coated, and I did see a dramatic increase in the DC voltage at that point.
Yes, because you block, you transfer everything into the plasma condition. The reason you see AC in your sandwich is because you transfer the plasma energy, which is a DC, to AC through resistance across the layers.
Right.
AC appears only when there is an interaction in a matter condition. Your DC, wherever you see DC, no increase in AC is the condition of the plasma. So all the energy transfer is in plasmatic condition.
Right, and because it was a human bodily fluid, it would have been basically pure plasma.
Yes, that's why you see increase in this. Understand the process. This is what I try to explain. Understand the process, then you can add to the knowledge. Your AC only comes when the gravitational magnetic fields have to go through a matter barrier. It goes so much up and down till it finds a way through. It's very much like a miner. You hit a stone, you go around the stone till you can get behind the stone. That, to me, this what AC is, that's what the frequency is. Till you find a way that you can penetrate. And in a plasma condition, you don't need penetration. We have a AC in a plasma, from one plasma to another. But that's a plasmatic AC is beyond man's understanding. It's far beyond man's understanding at this moment. The same as you have AC in a material condition. What is the frequency? Why do you get the sinusoidal wave? That you can penetrate. You find where you can penetrate. How you can penetrate from one atomic structure into another. We have the same thing in the plasma. You will see it. You will see huge AC currents in the interaction of the plasmas. But you're too what do you call it? This is very too early stages.
Well, I was thinking about using a capacitor to change the plasma into a electron like that we can use for power.
The easiest way to do it is a rechargeable battery.
Yes, I have used a rechargeable battery and charged it with this device.
Yes, if you use a rechargeable battery, because the rechargeable batteries have both AC capacity and a DC capacity. So when they absorb the DC as a plasma, because of the physical matter structure in the battery, they convert part of it into what do you call it, AC current. You can tap on both. This we've shown years ago, but the capability of the plasma reactors on AC and DC.
Right. Now, I think Brett also wants to say something about this, as I did get the idea, and we did talk a lot about this device. I got the idea from him to create this one. So I think he wants to talk about it as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic what you've done, and thank you very much for sharing the knowledge this way. This has a
You're welcome.
huge application in medical application.
I just wanted to say something about the understanding of the structure and why I did it. The inside nano layer, I used wires because I didn't have any foil like Vincent did, but the structure that's grown in that foil acts as a isolator of charge, and it should be blocking the flow. As you said, it goes around. So if you change the structure on that, you'll change what it does. And then the aluminum foil on top connected to those outer, what he has 9 of them. I just made one the size originally of about a nickel and just connected one wire to bring the energy into the system and hold it inside the middle.
Can you repeat that again?
Sure. I had a piece of little thin paper cardboard, extremely thin in the middle. Then I had the nano wires on the outsides of that, but I didn't have any foil, so I used the wires. But ideally, you would use a foil or some kind of coated foil that's structured so it isolates the charge from going up and down. It can only go sideways, not up and down. Then I put the aluminum foil on top of that, and then I put one wire on each side of the aluminum foil to bring in the energy and have it stored into the system.
But it still did the same thing. It still had the same effect, which was fantastic to see, and which is why I started creating this with the foil, because, you know, even with the wires that are cut, let's say I take a nano-coated copper wire, just like you see on top of that. This is the one that did it first. I cut that into, I think it was 3 or 5 pieces, and wrapped them in tinfoil. And then put a nano-coated copper wire on top of that. So exact same structure, but with the wires instead of a foil. And I still received AC voltage. So the structure, it seems that as long as you have that structure with the nano-coated and the non-nano-coated on one side and the same on the other with the dielectric in between, it looks like you can change around that structure but still receive.
Yeah, if you let me don't go too far. Don't go too far. Let's expand it in different direction. Let's explain it in different way. Get yourself and put 2 opposite polarity magnets in front of each other. Yeah. Get 2 magnets, 2 circular magnets with a hole or without a hole, and put 2 north poles or 2 south poles. The best result you get when you put the 2 north poles facing each other. Put them at a distance where you find them, they're comfortable, they don't jump or fly out. And then get a piece of aluminum foil or a copper foil and go right down through the center between the 2. You'll find out the magnets will jump on the air together. And measure the current in that
that's the eddy current.
Yes, but measure the current or put it up and see how they do. Because you convert the plasmatic magnetic field into an AC current, because now they have to cross a matter. The problem with this is I go 2 steps backwards. To you, as a normal understanding of the 2 magnets, you look at it, okay, there are 2 similar poles facing each other. But at the same time, the fields from the back of the magnets is in motion towards the other side too. It's a huge difference between using rectangular and square magnets and using circular magnets. With the circular magnets, you have a monodirection flow. At the face of the interaction. But at the same time, you have the similar poles still linking to as well. So in between the 2, you don't only have the repulsion, but you have the attraction from the back of the magnet to the front of the other magnet too. So it's a plasmatic condition. This is what another point that the world of science have always ignored it, because you always look at one side.
Right, they always just see the magnet, period.
Yeah. Start understanding the process. This is what I explained.
They say where that.
I have a question.
Yeah, let me explain. Let me add to knowledge slightly, because this is important, I think. There is a big question mark. Where does the magnetic field changes from the north to south in the planet? Nowhere. Because it's a flow. Because the man could not understand the flow of magnets. They think somewhere in the center of the, let's say, Earth, the South Pole changes to North Pole. No, it doesn't. It's the flow of the same magnetic field. As it goes in, it comes out. It doesn't change anywhere in between. This is another misunderstanding in the world of physics at the moment. So it's the same with your magnet. Your magnet there is no cross point where it goes to negative, positive, or what you call north and south. It depends where the flow increases. At a point where you see the change is where the magnetic field is just increased itself by absorbing other fields inside the material or inside the plasma within the center ring if you have a hollow ring magnets. So from now on, when you work with these things, you have created, look at the structure you created. You put a nano coppers, wires, you put an aluminum sheet, and then you put a copper coat, what do you call it, sheet behind it. You have created the same position as two magnets. You said eddy current. But your eddy current is both in both directions, positive, negative, negative, positive from both sides. Because a nano layer, as we said, is an atomic structure of plasmas sitting next to each other. They all can't be North Pole. One has to be in north to the south, to the north to the south. So either way, you're producing energy, you're releasing energy to it. And extend the knowledge, understand exactly what is happening in your sandwich you made. You have two plasmas of nano-coated material. They are plasmas, but they have to sit at the matter level. Then you have a aluminum foil in between. In a chemical reaction, you have deposition from material into the plate. That's why the batteries run out. When the chemical reaction is completed, you throw the battery away. With these nano layers, you can never throw the battery away because it's a live three-dimensional transfer of gravitational magnetic field. It's the same as putting two magnets on either side, and you said it's an eddy current. You have a continuous eddy current flowing in the... You understand now?
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's just like saying a magnet will run out of energy at some point in time. It's not going to happen.
Never does. Not going to happen. Because your nano layers are dynamic, they absorb energy from the side you don't consider behind them, which is not facing the aluminum foil. So in a way, they get it from outside, they feed it into inside. And when you
because of the matter in between, you have two fields that are interacting with each other with the matter. So
yes, now you understand.
Mm-hmm.
Now you understand. Try.
So which brings me
to
another point. Sorry, is I have another device that has a bunch of wires in it in a different fashion, but it had water inside. And I sent a picture around. I'm not sure if we talked about this last week or not. I don't think so. Where I have a meter hooked up that shows both a positive and a negative voltage. And we know in terms of physics, if you're measuring an electron, you can't have an electron moving one way and the other way at the same time. So that was a confirmation on that device that there is a plasma in that device. So what to bring it back to this part is that the dielectric can be either a matter in terms of a plastic or a piece of paper, or it can be in terms of water or space and air.
Can you repeat that?
Well, the dielectric matter, right, as we see as the plastic in between, as the sandwich, can be paper, can be anything that is a matter that doesn't.
Yeah, any matter will do.
How about silicone spray?
Including water.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know a better one? Do you want to see a plasmatic current?
Sure.
I think the answer would be yes.
Put a nano copper wire or copper sheet, cover it with Gans and put another copper sheet on top, and then measure.
Gans sandwich.
Gans sandwich. Then you see partially the transfer. and then you understand the interaction between the universes. We see this in the interaction between the universes. Partially, you see this in interaction on upper layer of what do you call it? Gaseous planets, which they have nano Gans material. The hexagonal shape comes from the balance of the matters. If you could make it transparent, you will see hexagonal shape in your Ganses. They structure themselves into hexagonal diamond structure to create a stability. You in the future, the scientists which they will travel into deeper space, you will see this in between near to stars. The knowledge is not there for man to see, but when you come to near two stars which are very close to each other, the plasma will create this condition at the interface. These are gateways that in the space will be used in the future. But if you take your knowledge a step further in what you understood today, now put a nano layer, you made enough Ganses, try to use a different Gans than the copper, if you're using two coppers. That you will see the interaction, and then use the Gans copper in between as a sandwich. Now you don't have any matter interference. Now you get a plasma current. This plasma current is hugely powerful. It's extremely powerful, but you have to be able to measure it at the level it stands. Use, the reason I said don't use copper, use something else as a Gans, because the difference will allow huge potential difference between the layers, the Gans and the layer. You need to create a potential difference, and the potential difference you create in the Gans, then it is there.
Right, I think we talked about this on the 22nd.
Yeah. So you start seeing the pardon, carry on.
So I was going to say, as we said back then, it stops some of the fields from entering in the plasma of the nano coating and allows more fields of the other strengths to come into the nano coating, which would be an increase in the amount of plasma strength, and instead of it being distributed.
You see, you are at the moment used to matter current plasma. Today you learned to work with a plasma current. And the plasma current, thank you. And the plasma current, my wife just walked in with a breakfast. She's laughing her head off. Doesn't matter. The plasma current is totally different than the material current.
That actually ties in exactly with a question I'd like to bring up. That's what we're talking about here, which is with Jean-Francois's experiment with his reactor. When his female child came in, the magnetic fields reversed on the reactor. And I think the same thing happened when his wife came in. And I'm wondering,
Armin,
is that a factor in running a reactor?
It is. Yes, it is. You will understand more. Get your dog walking and see what happened to it. Because, you know, the Foundation's mascot is a little dog we have here. And he comes and he goes everywhere. And I keep an eye whenever he goes around the reactors. And it's very interesting how he does and how it affects the reading. Yes, we create, that's why we are in opposite, and in a way you have a male and a female. It's the plasmatic condition. As I said before, eyes and ears and the senses are absolutely useless. He could measure what we should measure with our, what do you call it, with our emotional part of the body. So the detector feels the change which comes in. I've done some of these tests. It's very interesting. It's correct in the way it is and how it sits. But maybe today we go in a what do you call it, a big leap in the science that you can how to create a plasma current. And this current is so powerful if you can tap into it that in so many ways is one of the most powerful generators you ever know. But you have to know how to change its energy into condition, into material or energy you want in a matter level. Conversion is the process, is understanding. So you got to see, you got to understand what this can do and what energy it brings you. This is one of the reasons why when Yukoko used the material in Fukushima, you saw instant reduction in the what do you call it, in the radiation level. It's not a magic. Now you come to the point which was done 3 months ago. Gamma rays are a field strength, and these nano layers are transfers or absorbers of the field.
We have a question from the live stream. Would CO2 GANs work as the sandwich material, or work as a layer between the copper?
You can use anything, of course. Why not?
Well, you mentioned something other than copper might be better in that sense.
Yeah. You can use any GANs you make.
Good evening,
I have a question
everybody.
about the magnets, Mr. Kesh. I talked to Armin a week ago or so about these magnet configurations I make. And when I put another magnet on over top of it, it creates like a little spinning vortex that continuously goes, and the magnet will go around forever. Or if you have a spherical ball magnet you put in the center of it, it will spin continuously forever. And I was thinking maybe I can try some experiments with it if you have any suggestions.
Try.
Does it spin?
Try.
Does it spin if
well,
you
were
don't
talking
hold
about
it? Like if you
try to understand why it spins. Come out of the schizophrenic of being matter. Become in one state. Understand why. Why it rotates. It's spherical. It has north and south. This is what you tell me is rotates. This is exactly how rotation of the planetary system and the stars are done. Due to the gravity, due to magnetic field of the environment. You create the environment and you put a magnet, which entity, which is a plasma itself. It continuously chases to find the next connection and the balance, so it gives it creation. This is the principle by way I said one day I'll show you how you create a rotation in a reactor without using any vacuum pumps. You have to just don't look. I put a magnet and it rotates. You know, you understand. Try to translate your knowledge between the Gans and the matter. all the gases you see, all the copper oxide GANs, all the CO2 GANs you see, if you put them on the microscope and enlarge them, you see them, they're all rotating. They are rotating like mad. Because other materials, other gases around them, they're all magnetic gravitationally based. So they're forever rotating to find their balance. And this is how cosmos and universal rotations are created. As a Gans rotates, because of as you put your magnets and you see this thing rotating like mad in the middle, now you put the stars. You see, that's why they rotate. You put the galaxies. That's why the galaxies rotate in the way they do. They're dynamic. Now increase it to universes. That's why our universe is dynamic. There's no difference.
So if I put some GANs on top of the magnet and then put it in there to see some more effects then?
Have a look. Try.
That'd be interesting. I'll try that.
Try.
I'll try it.
Try to confine GANs in like a transparent ball and tune to its magnetic field. You might do it and nothing happens because you haven't tuned into it. Try to tune into the gravitational magnet. You will see all the liquid inside will rotate like crazy. This is how the inner core of this planet rotates. This is how the rotation is done in the center of the stars. You are getting into the essence of creation, but you have to understand it. Just don't copy it. Don't look at the material side. You are getting into the full structure. This is why we switched off our motors in the lab. Because now there are 3 reactors around and 1 reactor in the center. So none of the fields is just about equal the same to find balance. So one is pushing the other one, so we have a dynamic environment. Strange enough is that now, as talking about this, as we have 3 sets, the reactor, the set which is a Gans material, is dropping its power lower and lower every day. Now we are at, we started I think at 1.2, 1.4, 1.3. Now it's at about 0.81. As we feed the center cores, we provide more fields. The gases are absorbing it, and in absorbing it, they're getting in the reaching a point that they're not taking any power from the supply. And this happens only with the 2 reactors which are closest to the other sets. And in turn, they bring the other ones into balance, or they put pressure on them. Try to understand the structure. For now today, you understand how cosmic rotation is done, but you do it in a material state. When you do it in a matter state, you have frequencies. You have a AC condition. Because you convert part of the plasma of the magnets you have on the top, holding it, rotating it, continuously into AC, because it has to become matter to be able to interact. Not matter, it has to become in matter strength level to be able to interact with the ball. Partially the field interact, but partially as the field interact, they release the energy into the matter of the ball. Then you understand how easily you can make systems which you don't need no motors. Motors is a man created to create rotation. Now, with your test, and if you can do it with the Gans, you find out how the universe makes its motors. The next question.
Basically, what
Okay,
we were
I
talking...
do have another question then. Oh, go ahead, Lidmo.
It's okay, yeah. That sends me back to the history. About a year ago, I was playing with twisted nano-coated wires, trying to figure out... Always we say that the diabetes patients get individual treatment by the cups. and I was trying to make a sensor which basically is gonna sense the plasmatic field of the blood and adjust the cup versus the blood itself. That's a sensor for sensing the missing plasma, I would say.
Diabetic comes from the emotional part of the brain, not the physical part. The diabetic 2, even diabetic 1, comes from the emotional part, and then it transfers itself into diabetic, because they change the environment of the blood changes. And insulin and what you say, the pancreas working to do things, these are reactions to what the emotional part has done. And then what you do, you take insulin and say there's something to do with the pancreas. What you see as the work of the pancreas, or you see as the work of the other limbs on the kidney, these are only to react to what the emotional part has already created. It's not physical, and you cannot detect it through you have to always, for sure, emotional part, if it's sorted, diabetic doesn't exist. So the work of the pancreas, the work of other glands in the body, because it's not only one gland which controls the sugar, there's a combination of three glands working together. But in the present world of science, you only look at one gland, and then you get the use of insulin. If you change the emotion, if you make yourself an emotional cup, then you find out everything with your physicality and the sugar level changes. We've done this about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and you can prove it. You'll find, as I said, a lot of people with like COPD, with other illnesses, or people who lose a lot of weight one go due to the stress on the physical side of the body. They create diabetic condition. But if you go to the root of it, is the emotional part which controls it.
I understand that, but we were talking about diabetes cure and talking about cups for diabetic people, and they were supposed to be individual for each person. So I was trying to figure out how I can measure it in order to make it universal and change the cup consistency to each person individual, I would say. Something like that.
You cannot make it because people are made of different fields. Even though we all have amino acid and we all have the same 5 fingers and 2 eyes, nothing in our body is the same. None of us have exactly the same thing. Not even the twins. So you cannot make a universal cup because you have these things needs targeting and understanding. And mainly the targeting understanding comes from the person understanding where the emotion comes from. Why the emotion comes from and what is the cause of the the anger, the hate, the acceptance of the condition, trying to fight a condition. We don't see that much diabetic with ILS and MS. We see diabetic with COPD.
So basically the hate
because
is
it was accepted condition. This is accepted condition because the person who preempts or subconsciously wants to take his life has already accepted. He himself, he doesn't have any fighting, has no emotional stress because emotionally he has set the scene. Very strange. This is part of the teaching on the medical side. We'll teach in the future. You hardly see emotion. You hardly see, diabetic with emotional diseases. Even though they say, no, I'm very stressed because of I have whatever. Because they set the scene, subconsciously the body has accepted this is what I'm targeting for, doesn't matter what you do. But with somebody who's got a COPD, the lung damage, they fight because they can't understand the condition and the anger, the anguish from physically not breathing. Then that stress causes diabetic. There is a very fine distinction between diabetic and other diseases, because when the physicality cannot match, why do you use insulin? Why is it to do with the sugar? Sugar is energy level. When you're short of energy, what are you looking for? The fast conversion of energy is through sugar, through a hydrogen, CH bond. Where does the H goes? Emotional part is the fast user of energy. So the physical part has to match. Somebody who has ILS, even though they get stressed after getting the ILS, but the mind has already said, this is what I accepted, what I'm going to do. The condition of diabetic comes to go to the real reason of the stress, real reason of the emotion which created that stress. This goes back to, I was talking, and I explained this before, and I was talking to a couple of people this week and last week, and it's the same thing as we talked about bipolarity and ADHD, or ADD, attention deficiency, or attention hyperactivity. That ADD is not an illness. ADD is control. And because you cannot change somebody to kick the habit of control, doctors cannot stop people with ADD. You can sedate them and then say it works, but you cannot control, because ADD is with physical kingship, attention deficiency. What do the attention deficiency people do? They don't have attention deficiency. You who are watching them, you're a fool. You have not understood. What happens? He wants attention, so he does anything to get your attention. Emotionally, psychologically, physically, sexually, any way you want. So we call it, the guy is ADD. I say no, he wants to be the king and wants me to be a slave. And when I explain to the ADD people, I'm not your slave, you cannot fool me, and this is what you do, they understand very easily. In the family, they fight to keep that position. And the families who come with me with the ADD, we don't make them a cop. We don't give them something for changing their situation. We explain this is a natural process. He wants to be the controller. It's you who have allowed him. Now he will not let go. But why does ADD, or attention deficiency, attaches itself to hyperactivity? They call it ADHD. Because if I cannot control you to be the king emotionally, in a relationship, a woman and a man, a child, a mother and a father, the child gets the attention through ADD by getting angry, being quiet, because you know, somebody goes quiet, say, why are you quiet? What's wrong? What has happened? Now she's the center of attention. She's the king. All your attentions are his or hers. This is a kind of ADD, attention deficiency. Now you get the ADHD, attention deficiency hyperactivity. If you are in an environment where there are too many people and they don't know you, what happens? You still want to get the attention which you got at home, but you can't. So how do you control? You kick. For 1 second they are watching you kicking. Then the attention is for a few seconds on that kick. Then you throw the bucket. Then you jump. Then you do something else. Continuously trying to keep attention to yourself. Is this hyperactivity? No, this is a kingship. That's why they can't find any medicine for ADHD. Because they don't understand. This is a kingship. This is a control. It's a psychological problem. It is not a mental problem. This is a control of me being in charge. This is what I say to all the parents who come to me. You know, first thing in the morning, this is what I've done with my children for years. You see them, give them a cuddle. Tell them you love them. They're the center of their life, your life. They receive what they need. You don't get this. But if there's a conflict between the mother and the father, and the mother uses the point of ADD to control the rest of the family through a child, then you come to mother munching. She uses that child and its behavior to show there is existence for me, he's ill, I have to look after it. So it feeds another illness now with the mother. This is part of the process that with this technology we have tested so much that we can separate what is illness, what is physical illness, what is emotional illness, and it's nothing illness but it's just pretend. So anybody who tells you I'm an ADD, tell him what you need that we give you. You find out there is no more ADD. But then because they are in the habit of being in control, then they carry on with somebody else. So they are ADD in one house and they're intelligent and very good people in the other houses. Because in that house they get all the attention they need. ADD starts maybe earlier to age of 5 and 7. And then it becomes a habit. Usually comes out of the conflict between the mother and father or through an illness. When a child becomes ill, then it's a center of attention. Oh, you're there, everything is his, and then he sees the illness as a way of control. Mama, I have a headache. Oh, you can have this. Mama, I have this. Oh, you can have that. Mama sits next to the child. And then ADD is fed by usually by the mothers to carry on because they try to give love to a offspring that it gives them a reason for existence, that I exist too. So they feed the ADD because they try to say I exist by looking after a sick person. They feed the ADD further. So now the child becomes the household chief. You see ADD majority with the second or a third child, where they are fighting for their position, they can't get it, so they create and usually comes by a small sickness. They get sick, high temperature, and they are coming out temperature. They see all the attention paid to them. Now the whole house goes around them. Oh, now I'm in charge. That I'm important, and then they develop it over time to ADD. So anybody who says I'm ADHD or my child got ADHD, explain to them very simply. AD means there's no definition. It's actually a kingship, and when you're a king, you want to confirm your existence, you continuously control, do things, and people have to watch what you're doing, so you're in position. And to be able physically to see what you're doing, then they say he's hyperactive. Hyperactivity comes because he wants to be in control. There is no sickness called ADHD. It does not exist. It's a kingship, and they make all sorts of chemicals and pharmaceuticals who also seem to sedate them. But you sedate the physical side. You don't stop the kingship side, which is a control part of the brain. This is what it goes, I said before. Why do we get presidents who, after 2 terms, they still fight to be a president, and after even they finish the presidency, they still look for a position to still have that value. They become UN ambassadors, they become this and they become that, because they still want to be that center of attention. And they won't let the seat of kingship to go anywhere. At least they're attached to it somehow. It's the same thing with a child. ADHD does not exist. AD, attention deficiency, means you are full, I'm controlling you. Anybody says I have an AD, says, well, you want me to be your slave? And anybody says I have an ADHD, says you're crazy, because you don't get what you want, you continuously distract us. So to be able to distract me, you have to be active. So I'll call it hyperactivity. There's no hyperactivity. It's just you want to be in charge. You don't get it. When they kick the bucket, the next second you're falling off the chair. The next second you're pushing something. So I have to continuously watch what you're doing to be your slave. So ADHD does not exist. The same thing goes. You measure the blood sugar of the ADHD. None of them have diabetic. They're the most calmest people internally, because you are a servant. And when they don't get it, they pretend they're sick. Now they're sick, you have to pay them attention. So they're back on the kingship. Diabetic level of sugar gives a very good indication of a lot of things. What is not happy emotionally, physically. I need energy to satisfy the emotional energy. Go back to how you breathe. I explained, no oxygen ever crosses the lung. Availability of the hydrogen is the same as the availability of hydrogen in the sugar. Immediate release for absorption and consumption by the emotional part of the brain and partially the physical part of the brain. So why do you have why you're diabetic? Sort out what you are not feeding and what you are using too much, and the emotional interaction with your physical part. You won't have a diabetic within 3 months, because the body has to adjust to it. Next question. There is something I have to explain in this respect. Those who are medical orientated and listen to this workshops. In the world of science, when we put people into sleep or whatever, or we give them oxygen, we give them oxygen mask, and give them oxygen tank. These oxygens, they convert in the lung down to nitrogen, and then the process starts. Because they're of the higher order, they can go to a lower order. So the oxygen which you give as 100% oxygen or whatever, 95% whatever oxygen they give to people in the operating room or whatever, these, if you mix some nitrogen in these oxygen content, you'll find out the process will be much easier without any problem. This is one of the reasons sometimes people wake up in during the operation and they're conscious of the operation. Especially people who are in delivery rooms with cesarean, because the emotional part is the interaction continuously knowing giving a birth. A lot of doctors, by giving oxygen or sedation, do not bring they give the sedation, but the woman still feels the whole thing, because that oxygen conversion does not allow part of the neurosystem to go totally in a position of not on what you call it, bypassing. So in the future, when the scientists understand more, they will add nitrogen into the oxygen mixture. This is partially why when you go into the what do you call it, as you dive into deep seas, you got what they call a nitrogen bend. because scientific world has not understood that no oxygen ever crosses. So you have that because of the creation of the reversal of putting too much conditioned energy, that it reverses back itself and it cannot reverse back to the oxygen, so you get a nitrogen bend. I explain this in detail in the future, but understand why and how you create your own diabetic. Diabetic 1 is a stress within the womb of the mother, when mother in passing, being in charge of the body, cannot, she transfers her emotional part through the blood to the child, physically. So you're born with it, you call it diabetic 1. In a way, it is very hard to sort a diabetic 1 because you did not carry part of it. Partially is your mother who's giving it to you. If you can reconnect the child to the blood of the mother, to the vein and the mother, then maybe you can sort out diabetic 1 in an easier way. But diabetic 1 can be done, it is created the condition because when the child is in the womb of the mother, the position is tight, the womb is tight, there is anger between the father and mother, mother is under stress. So you create that onto the body physically, the child feels the stress emotionally, and then it transfers, you're born as a diabetic 1. Diabetic 1 is very hard to control, to change, because we don't understand the process of it in the womb of the mother. And diabetic 2 comes because of your own stress, which you need a lot of energy. Fast energy comes through the sugar, delivered as a hydrogen energy into the body, which comes through the insulin. And then you got to understand the process that in the condition of the diabetic, the sugar level or conversion of the matter into the sugar CH level, or CH level of the hydrogen of the CH combination, is transferred across the wall into the blood from the insulin. Because you don't get it through your hydrogen, through your lungs, so the conversion comes through the same way as you transfer minerals as what do you call it, as insulin into matter into your blood. That conversion is done through the stress conversion of the neurosystem on your blood vessels. You convert part of the CH in the insulin into sugar, and the use of insulin in your body. This is all to do with the lymph. The lymph conversion comes across the wall into CH and then into the sugar combination for the fast use of energy from the lymph. Then you get all the problems with the diabetic. If you can change two things, you can sort out the diabetic very fast, very quickly. And we've seen it in our test. We have shown this is exactly what happens. You can interfere with the production of the physical part of the production of the, what do you call it, the diabetic, through the stomach, absorption of energy through your limbs. Next question. What is MIDD?
That's exactly what you gave the reply earlier. Mother inherited diabetes.
Yes, this is to do with the mother energy. You find out a lot of people with ADD have a huge problem. The problem is that it goes in the psychological point of male and a female. There is a you'll find in the families where there is a first child, a daughter, or the second child is a daughter. The father, by our nature, we see females as weak, and we are there to protect the way we protect our wives or our sisters. When we have a daughter as a child, this instinct becomes much more stronger because you feel it as beautiful creature in your hand cannot defend itself. As a boy, we look at it that how he grows up and becomes, a man, and this is it, blah blah. But as a girl, we look at it as a beautiful thing which now we are responsible for. A mother, a wife, a sister is something which has been there. We have become responsible for them, or care for them, because it's part of our process of environment. But when you give life to a girl, you see this thing now you're responsible for. And the same emotion sits as you see this is weak and I have to protect it. And you fall in love because we have to protect it, you care more for it. A lot of mothers, we see this a lot in Keshe Foundation Health section. A lot of mothers don't understand. And they misplace their love. What they see is that, how come now he loves this woman and not me? Now the daughter they gave life to becomes a competition, becomes a mistress. Mothers who understand they're given love and life to the same creature as a man they love, they nourish the daughter. She becomes the point of interaction between the both sides. She becomes the center of love and care for the family. But the mothers who see this woman as a mistress, this little thing as a mistress, because he used to pay more attention to me, now all his attention is for her, all the attention goes to look after her, what about me? You find them in conflict with their daughter. Because now I have to get rid of this bird out of the nest. And this develops to more and more. And then you see conflict in the house. In these cases, you find diabetic in the daughter. Because emotionally she cannot understand it. And it causes a lot of emotional stress which manifests itself in a later time as diabetic too. But the cause of it is the mother who sees the daughter as a competition. Then, in some cases, mainly with boys, because the father sees the son as a point of, I'm going to play football with or whatever, in a point of weakness when the child is sick that it's another man I can love, the mother makes the child to stay sick, that there is a reason for her existence. This is called mother munging. Go on the internet and read about it. The child is never sick, but mother psychologically makes the child to be sick in a condition of sickness that she proves her own existence. That I exist, I need to exist because I have to look after a sick child. You see ADD beginning and ADHD beginning, and then in the future, because they grow up in the society and society doesn't accept the behavior of ADHD because they don't have time for a guy to be their king, they want to be the king themselves, they end up with diabetic too. And then you find mother with the psychological problems, and then all sorts of other things which goes with it. So in the process, the whole structure of the health has a background to it, which is most of the diabetic 1 and diabetic 2 in the later stages. If you go back to the root of it, you'll find out exactly where you started. And when the person understands it, you find out diabetic over a few weeks and months disappears. Because you sort out the problem at its structure, at its root. Diabetic 1 is extremely difficult to sort because a child does not remember in the womb what he received and what was the condition. Next question.
I have a question that came up. It's not my question, actually. It's from Lixin Wang. And in that regard, you mentioned before when a mother has a child, that essentially it's creating a new soul. And so her question has to do with how does can you explain reincarnation? How does reincarnation work into that? When the if it's creating a new soul, how could that soul also have previous lives if it's being created in this lifetime, let's say?
Scientifically, go back to your Gans and your gas and your nano layers. Go back to, there is no reincarnation. Reincarnation does not exist. If people say, I used to be so and so, scientifically you can go back to exactly say what they are. If they read a book, they feel about they are what they are, or they heard something, or they listened to something which they're not aware of, and then they say they are. But you carry all the knowledge. I've said this before in other knowledge seekers. You carry all the knowledge that you physically or emotionally have been present from the time of Adam. It's within your DNA. Actually, it's within your RNA. As I said, you carry the physical information of your color of your eye through your DNA, and the rest of the emotions and information through your RNA. So people who say, oh, I've been reincarnated, I've been there and I know this, if you know something which you think is from time of the past, in your DNA, most probably we can trace it down to where it is and why and how and which ancestors you got it from, because they were present or they are aware of information which through your RNA you have access to now. So reincarnation does not exist, but when the mother gives a soul life to a child, that is a different way, because then it's like saying that all the electrons are the same as other electrons, but we know electrons are created from different neutrons. They are part of. The soul of the man is a copy of the same thing. So your soul is part of the creation of your physicality. Is the electron part of the same neutron dividing into electron and proton?
It's not so much new as maybe recycled.
No, it's not recycled. It's added to.
Okay.
It's added to. It's added to because you carry you add to the other knowledges. It's as I say, when you receive plasmatic energy by a plasma, you add to the mass. So it's the same thing. You add to the mass. You add to the soul. That's why we elevate ourselves scientifically and morally, because we add to what is being given to us before. I explained this before, if you go back into other knowledge seekers or in other talks, that a lot of cases can be unraveled what happened in the past in the history, if we can reach the soul of the people who come from that point and present in that situation. As I said, in a very near future, we will know the full truth about crucifixion. We will know a full truth about the whole history of man. We will see it visually. It'll be shown to us. That's not the RNA, that's not the DNA. This is what has been recorded. Then we can match and see who has come from which background, and then they can tell us to match the video we see. Yes, we know, we've been there. Through the RNA information which is stored, but we don't know how to tap into it. RNA is like a database disk. Everything is on it. You got to go and look for it.
And would that be stored in the muscles of the body, as some might say?
No, it's in the tissue. No, it's in
Pardon
the
me?
RNA. DNA has a brother. The DNA has a parallel, which is RNA. It's the process in RNA. It's in every cell of your body.
But certain groups of cells might be grouped together that would have certain data associated with them, and maybe you could access in the body, go into the body to find that, to retrieve it.
No, everywhere, wherever you find out, DNA cannot exist without RNA. So you have the physical, it's like a computer. You have the hardware and you have the software. If there is a hardware, there is a software inside it, with it. Otherwise you can't use it.
But all of the RNA of a certain body wouldn't have all the same memories attached to it.
All the same memory. Yes.
Okay, I see.
It's just making copies of the same thing because it's much easier. Information is much easier to hold. It's actually like the soul of the DNA. It's the other part of it. It's a memory holding section. It's like you have a physical arm and hand, but all the memories are kept in the brain. You don't have a brain in every piece of your body, but with RNA you carry this. This is your memory bank of the whole creation from the time where you start recording. And all of us, because we are born from a mother and a father, or we have a link, we receive all the information through RNA.
Is that linked to the particles that exist in space between galaxies and so on, the interstellar particles, which are actually certain geometries? They can tell the history of these particles, even what star they came from, because they go through, create stars, and continue after the star's gone.
That's a matter level.
But wouldn't it be similar to a Gans almost? Like some of these particles are very small, certain geometric shapes, very similar to the RNA. And some people say that certain particles, some of these particles, at least a small percent, might be the life-forming particles that can form either life or matter, depending on how they're put together. It seems like almost a Gans material to me. Is Gans floating through space?
The space is Gans. Even in this solar system, it's all Gans. Gans converts into matter. What you see in the structure, the same as what we see as a soul of the man. Galaxies have souls. I explained this before. And the soul is between the physicality of the space. The same as the solar system has a soul. Earth has a soul. And all of our souls is part of collective soul. So I was explaining, they say, so if there is so much bad is going on this planet with the man, why doesn't the soul of the planet change? Very simple. 7 billion souls are nothing compared to billions of ants, the fish, the other animals who are on this planet. We think we are the center of we thought we are the center of the creation. We think we are the most important creatures on this planet. But the total soul of the man, which is 7 billion, is nothing compared to the soul of the ant colony. So, in a way, maybe for the first time man can understand, his soul has no effect on the totality of the soul of this planet. Because it's collective soul. Look at the animals, look at the animal kingdom. Look at the plant kingdom. They all have souls because they are dynamic. A wheat does not eat another wheat. So, soul of the man in totality does not affect the operation of this planet as a soul. It has an effect on it, but it doesn't do. It was a horrendous to see the video yesterday and what they did with the beautiful American young man. Where does that soul go? And where does the soul of the man who did the horrendous job? My condolences goes to the father and mother who have to go through what has happened to them. Pray his soul, he'll find peace somewhere, or balance somewhere. But where does the act of that animal goes? Nowhere. But in totality, because we are of the same, we can change that soul. The same thing is I was explaining in the very past few days. We see the problems uprising again in Middle East in past 48 hours, 24 hours. I said to the people, you know, you lose your child in Palestine by bombing. Take the heart of the child, take the child, the body of the child, and walk to the soldiers of the Israeli army and say, use the parts to save a child of Israeli child. The same goes for the Israelis. If you lost a father or a mother, take the body to the Palestinians and say, use the part to save another life which we destroyed. Then you see if the armies will fight. My idea, my recommendation, or what I can ask, is all the Palestinians who lose their family or whatever in this war, or in the future wars, not just in Palestine between Israel and Palestinians, in any war, take the bodies of what you lost, because it's just a physicality, if you can hold it fresh, to the soldiers of the enemy. Say at least use it to save some of your own children. You'll find out no soldier will fight, because they find out they're equal and the part is needed for their part to survive. Then this is understanding of the level of the soul. Because through the body, what is connected, if it's still alive, you carry the soul to another soul. This is part which, if the Palestinians understand, they stop killing each other. You don't need to kill. You just give freely, and then you find out they will bring the walls down. The problem sits on both sides. Let the Israelis bring their child or children which they can't get the organ to have with these wars killed. The soldier is still a child. And give it to the Palestinians to use it for the ones they killed, or maybe it's used. You don't need to go halfway around the world to find organs. The Israelis, the Jews and the Palestinians come from the same blood. That's why the Jews went back to Palestine, to be there in their motherland. And it's the motherland of the Palestinians because they were all there, they were all the same blood. You'll find a lot of matches between the two sides of the wall. I requested this from our Iranian people. Let the Palestinians take their bodies of the children, the mother, the wife, who's been killed by a bomb from Israel. Just keep it fresh enough that they can use the organs to save the life of a child in Palestine, Israel. Then you'll find out a soldier will be ashamed to accept such a thing. You have to show how horrendous the action of the man is. Nobody will fight for the war. Next question.
I wanted to say something about the RNA. Is the information stored? Is the information stored where the phosphorus bond is in the RNA? The higher dimensional energy is where the information comes from.
The information is kept in a plasmatic condition, has no materialistic condition. RNA doesn't have a physical dimensions like the soul. It's the field connection. It's exactly like your disk. It's your memory bank.
Also, regarding what you're trying to do in Africa, I have some people that are interested in getting involved with you in that. If you wanted to talk about it some other time in private with these people.
What happened, we have a huge problem at the moment. We send the material to go to Sierra Leone, and through international pressures or whatever they're trying to put on us, the material was brought back to us on Wednesday because they don't allow the material to go. We need somebody literally to carry this material in a suitcase. If anybody is going to Sierra Leone or to West Africa, where this problem is, that we can get it to the officials, that they can launch the trial to see what we can do. We have a problem. This is something which I didn't want to discuss, but you brought it up. Anybody in Europe who's going to Sierra Leone, please contact the foundation. We need this package to be received by the president as a presidential office in Sierra Leone, that they can start trials to stop the death in this part of the world. We have a problem, and I thank anybody who can help us. The package is here sitting on the table, and we cannot find a way. I even ask if we can shift it through diplomatic corps of different governments we have contact with, and some sort of it's been embarked on Keshe Foundation to get this material into Sierra Leone. We need an individual who can carry the package. It's only about 200 gram, maybe 300 gram. The material needs to get to the health departments in Sierra Leone, that the test can be done on it. So if
these people that I work with, they should be able to help you with that. They work with governments and presidents of all kinds of countries over in Africa and the Middle East. They have no problem moving stuff. They work at a high level.
Please, yeah, we work at the highest level. We can't work at the highest level we can, but we need somebody to physically get this material into Sierra Leone. We desperately need it sitting here.
They meet with the presidents of Nigeria, Iran, and all those countries so they have all those connections already.
All I need to do, somebody, it doesn't matter where they sit, if you know somebody who can take this package for us to deliver it to the ambassador in Sierra Leone or to the office of the president, we have no problem. It's just physically getting it there, because UPS returned it back to us. It says we cannot move this for you after holding it for a week. So the package is back here. If these people are anywhere, we can guarantee that will be received by our people, officials in the government in Sierra Leone. We can deliver it to you anywhere. You can come to the Sansano and pick it up. There is no problem. Well, we need somebody physically to take this across. We asked for a diplomatic bag to be used. They said they cannot do this. They won't allow it to happen. But even if it's in the diplomatic bag, nobody should know. But to do that, to go to foreign offices and everything, takes weeks and weeks. So we need anyone flying, traveling to Sierra Leone, please contact us. Our people will meet you at the airport or any port you enter at the government level. We're going to take it over from you. Next question. Contact me through Rick. If you can help, contact me through Rick, who it is, what it is. We establish their credential through our security people, and we are happy. We'll hand over the material to go.
Yeah, you'll have no problem with that.
No problem. Okay. Please help, because you're helping another man with the illness in the country. We don't know if that results will be correct, but from the tests we've done here in the lab in past 2 weeks, we are pretty sure it can do some good. Contact through Rick and then establish the link, and we can send it through immediately.
Okay. Regarding the cup of life, the 3 cups you needed for the three range of energies, are those cups with the range of minerals that are for the 3 systems, like the autonomic nervous system or the parietal system? Those 3 systems, is that why you need the 3 cups?
No.
Okay.
We use the 3 cups because the cups absorb different plasmatic magnetic fields. This is the assumption. Because we do the same thing on the health side. On the health side, we work on the energy, we work on the emotion and the psychological.
Well, I was thinking like the minerals, they're usually divided into the three. They go, one will go to the parietal system and to the certain glands, and the other group will go to this gland system and operating system. And so those three systems, I was thinking that's why you needed a cup, one for each of those systems.
I don't look at it that way. Maybe it is, but I don't look at it that way, because in the health section now, we can produce a system which is the exact copy of the structure of the human body. Brain side, emotional side, physical side, left side, right side, the hands, the fingers, physical part of the fingers and the brain part of the fingers and the hand. In one cup, we can replicate the whole structure of the man. It's extremely difficult, extremely dangerous, but we have managed to achieve that. It's a major breakthrough for our work. Literally, we can dictate which finger or which hand, or if the upper arm or the heart or the liver we want to reach, and the emotion of the operation of the emotional part in respect, let's say, to the heart or to the liver. The technology in a single cup is so advanced that people cannot even imagine. But it's come through trials. It hasn't come through. We have to understand physicality of the man, the operation of it. So what you explain is more or less we try to achieve all in one cup. But that cup we have a control over. With the cup of life, you have to reach all levels, physical and emotional and the neurosystem at the same time. It's a very interesting development. And the first cups chewing out for about 2 months now. We see amazing results, amazing results. So in the future, through a cup of water, or what you make as a cup of water, you can control in respect how the arm will move physically in respect to the emotion which is created and why it's gone paralyzed. But one of the shortage in the link is the amino acid side connecting the making neuro, what's it called? It's called SMN or NSM. It's got the terminology. It's a neuron system which works within the nerve system, converting the information into physical motion. That's the level we are working on now to develop. But a cup of life should be able to do all that in one go.
There was a couple of questions from Ivan Feingold in that goes something like, if someone have to have a good behavior and be a good person to feel the energy from the cup of life, why that people with Alzheimer and those in coma that use this cup still get better and cured? Does that make sense? It's a little, maybe I can paraphrase that better. It's basically,
paraphrase.
Someone has to be in the right mental and emotional state. I said state before in last workshop, and you corrected me in terms of their whole life has to be that way. They have to be a certain person in order to receive this energy from the cup. So why would people that are not conscious, essentially, or not able to focus on their present environment and so on, like someone in a coma, they could benefit from the cup even though they're not necessarily consciously interacting with it?
No. This goes back to your schizophrenic brain condition. Just because you don't see the body moving, you think there is no emotion. You know, this is very, very simple. I can tell you this from experience we have. I don't know if some of you have heard this before, but I explained to you, you understand. It's videoed, we can show you the video. When we were given the coma body, where 3 doctors in Belgium signed the documents that, or they told us that the brain is dead physically, the body is it's just a heartbeat. When we received the body at home with 4 people with the health section responsible for its monitoring, the Belgian doctor who received the body before I did, he did all the tests in the house, that the condition the bodies arrived from the hospital in the hand of our medical team. Doctors say, brain dead, there is nothing. Physically, the videos of it you could see up to about 2 years ago on the Keshe Foundation website. The body physically twisted into the shape of the coma section, where the toes bend back to the heel, towards the heel, and literally go like a full circle in cases. We started the process on a Wednesday lunchtime. By Thursday lunchtime, the brain was active, and a person came out of coma. And then, when he came out of coma, he went to a shock, because people who are in coma, you bring them back. You bring back the physical part of the brain back to work, but because they've been inactive on the bed for, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years, the physical parts don't receive the information, don't have the muscle tissues to move, because everything has gone in more or less a shutdown of physical motion side, but not shut down for nourishment part of the body, because body has 2 neurosystems. One is the one which is connected to the stomach, brain system, which is for nutrition, to feed your muscles. When you go in coma, you don't lose your arm and legs, don't fall off and disappear, because the neurosystem of the intestines is responsible for the muscle tissues. This is what is separated between the brain and the body millions of years ago, billions of years ago. So the physical part of the brain comes out, but it cannot. You wake up, you want to move your arm, but what your eyes, which is automatically is the first thing comes out, or the emotion part of the feeling, you see the arm doesn't move. I want to move my leg, the leg doesn't move, so you go into emotional shock. As you become paralyzed, you understand the paralysis in that second. Then it took us a week to get the person to interact with us on the emotional side. I saw the body coming back. I was there when she woke up, but I saw how I lost her through the shock. Then we understood we have to use a special way now that the people coming out of coma, they cannot see their physicality. They are aware the body is there. We let them feel or think the body moves, but you blind them from seeing their physical part. Because now you awaken the physical part of the brain, but you cannot move the physical part of the body. Then I went into searching, how can I get this body out of the shock and give it enough confidence that it can start, I can achieve what I came to achieve. To bring it out of physical coma too. I asked the parents and the friends, what does she need? What is she connected to? And they said to me, she loved to smoke. She loves a cigarette. I found my weakness point in the structure of the body of the man. I asked for a cigarette, which was her usual, she smokes. And I just, without lighting it up, I just brought it under her nose. It was not working. Then I said to her, can you feel the cigarette? Can you taste the cigarette? I put it on her lips. I said, if you want to smoke, you move your toe. That I know you are with me, then we can take you out. The first time, no response. I let her feel the heat of the cigarette on her body, not touching her, just she knew the taste, the thing was there, she knew a cigarette. I said, if you want me to help you to come out of this condition, and you can hear me, just move your toe. I know the toe doesn't move, but you can move your toe. And she moved her toe the first time. This is all videoed. We can show it to you. It'll be released in the videos. It used to be on the center, on the foundation forum. Then we start establishing a link between the physicality and the emotion side and physical part of the brain and the physical part of the body. It took me 2 weeks without anything. Yo was there. Yo, who listens to this program, is always present. I know he listens, he can tell you. By the 4th week, she could sit on the table. I used to cook a meal for her to feed her. What happened? If she's brain dead, what happened to all the information? If she's dead physically, we say she's in a coma. What happens to the emotional part? As long as the physical part operates, the emotional part is there. It's like putting a computer on not a shutdown, but on a standby. Even when you shut your computer down, you open up, all the information, the data, all the programs are there. Even if you take the computer from here to Japan or anywhere else. So, in no circumstances, unless there is a suffocation condition, which stops the work of the operation of the emotional side, as long as the body breathes, the emotional part alive exists and the soul is with it. And this is one of the reasons I go back to the beginning of this workshop. We work around ILS, MS, fibromyalgia, and psychological problem, because the physicality is not important, but keeping the emotional part in act, that you don't take the energy from the emotional part, is the whole purpose of the operation of the foundation's work on the health side. So, when you go to coma, this is the physical part which is switched off. The background information memory bank, which is your emotion and the soul, exists as long as energy is converted through your lungs or through any system or through your limbs into the energy that the emotional part has to live. The thing is, you have to always remember, it doesn't matter what they say, the guy is a brain dead or whatever, or as long as the tissues don't get wasted, as long as the brain cells are active and you don't see disintegration of the brain by its own through lack of receiving of energy, it literally decomposes, it rots, then the emotional part is active, the person is alive, and it's your responsibility to keep it a safe place or carry it to a safe place or allow it to manifest itself in any functionality. Even if it means by means of computer, it can connect the emotional part to a system that it can show its existence, you still have a soul and it's your responsibility to protect it. So if you go in a coma just because the doctor says it's dead, it's their own doctor's death, because they don't understand the meaning of the existence and life. If you bring them back, they cannot remember, you can still teach them. A lot of people get taught from the beginning different ages as they lose part of their memory, because another part of the brain will take the responsibility. So no one ever dies. The separation of the soul from physicality comes when the emotional part is switched off. As long as you have a heartbeat, as long as you keep the life on the support machine, it's the responsibility of physicians to keep that emotional part alive and in a working condition. Because in the future, you'll understand you can literally go to the emotional part, separate it, and give it a life and let it be. Einstein should not die, and God knows scientists in the world, just because they lost their physicality doesn't mean they lost their emotion and physical, their, what do you call it, understanding part. So Coma, that's, as I said, we do so much research on the emotional side, is to how to handle this in the future for man in a space, to handle his own, what do you call it, same things, human race. So please, if you see somebody in coma and they switch the machine off, the man who switches the machine off, if the physical body is still working, is literally like a executor. Just because you don't see physical motion doesn't mean that the emotional part, which is the essence of the creation, is switched off. It's always there. We've seen it. We've shown it. The girl is still alive as a woman. She's, how old is she? She's in the mid-40s. An article was published about her in a Belgium magazine on the 19th of February 2013. The Israeli scientists with the Cambridge scientists and the Belgian scientists in Liège hospital have tested the conformation of the intelligence. She distinguishes between things. So all we need, if we get the emotional part, we get all the information, all the beauty of the creation. With that, we give it different physicality. People will go with ILS, they can't use their arms and necks and everything else. They use their eyes to communicate. We should be able to give the same thing to the emotional part for it to communicate. It doesn't need the arm and hands to communicate. Stephen Hawking is one of his best examples. Huh? Next question.
I'd like to introduce a beautiful little reactor that Armin has just shown a picture of here. And he's online.
I can't see pictures. I cannot see pictures.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know. I could try to do this.
If you send it to me, I'll have a look. Send it to me.
Right. It's in the chat, actually.
I'll see if I can just do a screen share here. Just a sec here.
Thanks, Vince. That's the best way to do it.
You can probably see it with a screen share.
Let's see if that works.
Is this the core which we're hoping Armin will make? When he left, I asked him the smallest core you can make.
It's a beautiful little core. It's almost thumb size. It's so small. The picture shows him holding it in his thumb and forefinger, basically. It is beautiful. It's simply beautiful.
Thank you very much, Armin.
And there's a picture of several of them, the family, the core family.
Yeah, we needed 4. I asked Armin, we need 4 of them to be able to create amino acid. These small reactors, even to their size, should be as powerful as the big ones. Armin, did you manage to make the internal part moving the way you showed me the motor before you leave?
This is what, because Mr. Kesh, I have so much little time in here, so I did my best. Actually, it's a core, it's all made from one lot of material, and it's the core is just screwed in. It's very simple design.
But it's still internally it rotates, and externally rotates.
No, externally rotates. The whole reactor is rotating. But I have already designed that two inside core is rotating separately and outside is separately. But I don't have a time to wait until
Bring it back. We'll fix it here. That'll be fantastic.
It's a
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can you see the picture at all?
No, I'll go on the live stream and I'll look at it on the live stream. Here on this system, we don't have the facility of the what do you call it, the camera, or being able to see.
I can send you email, Mr. Kesh.
Yes, send it to me by email. I'll have a look. Thank you very much, Harman.
Sure. It's 1 inch diameter.
Wow.
Inside.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it wins the prize for the most beautiful reactor of the year. It's just small and precise looking, and it looks really robust too. It's thick-walled and looks like it could take a beating and keep on ticking. As they said in the old Timex watch ads, right?
Yeah. We need to go this is small. We need to go next step smaller. These miniature reactors will show us a new dimension in interaction with bigger reactors. We can see their interaction with other reactors, because now if we can put it on a small plate, then we can move it in between the reactors and see how the fields interact between each other, between the reactors, between different sets. This becomes as a whole like a electron in respect to the other sets we have as protons. This is the first three-dimensional. We can use it to hang them individually. I have made a stand we can use it for and see how they interact with each other. The stand is it's been made a few months ago. It's a stick in a pallet with 3 bits hanging and the 4th bit on top of it. So one stand at center core and the other ones can move. This gives us a first time the ability to do a 3-dimensional. That's fantastic, Harman. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next question.
I have a small question regarding the nanowires.
Who's speaking?
Shandor
Yes,
Prakash. So there is a photo on the Keshe Foundation webpage with a test with 2 pieces of nano-coated wire which are twisted, and there is a measurement of the resistance between the terminals. I tried to replicate that, and maybe I did something wrong with my coating, because whenever I twist the coating, the resistance just breaks, sometimes down to 2 ohms. So I don't know what happens, what I have to do differently to make a resistant coating which withstand this twisting.
How fast do you take your copper wire out and test it? If it's dry, there should be no problem. The other thing you can do before you twist them, just rub the wires down with your finger. Put a glove on and rub the rails down, crush the layers, and then twist them.
So I will try that way also. So they were basically dry. They were pretty dry. I took them out since longer time, and I dried with the air dryer also.
The best example is if you want to see the resistance, but to measure is different. Connect, when you twist the 2 wires together, connect one end to a 9-volt battery or to a battery, and connect the other end to a light bulb. If you can connect it to like what I used to do, a Christmas tree, you will see the light on the Christmas tree comes in a sequence as it is programmed in a chip. And at the same time, you will see the heating up of the wire. You will see the AC and the DC together in the same wire. And you will find out at a point when it cuts off or it gets very warm, your wire literally or your battery gets really hot, because it has to overcome conversion of the plasma into the matter and the resistance in it. And you see the two wires you never get a short circuit. Even you get a high temperature in your battery, you never get a short circuit in your the light bulbs. The best example of it is use, these little Christmas trees you see with about 10, 20 little LED lights on it, they flash in different way. Yes. I find that was one of the best ways to do it. Connected to a battery, twist the two wires and to the other end. You will see the effect of both AC and DC on the same wire.
I will try that.
Wouldn't you be, question on that experiment, wouldn't you be trying to get a maximum resistance so that it wouldn't transfer the energy? And in other words, you wouldn't want to crush the nano coating because then it might be copper on copper. So why not?
No, you never get a copper on copper. You never get a copper on copper.
In spite of it being crushed.
You still have some layers.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's still nano layers.
Well, what I was going to suggest, why not give it an extra vapor bath after they're twisted together, and that would give an additional coating between them, so they maintain their own path, even though
they maintain it. They maintain so many different ways with it. If you get your wire and rub it, you see it changes from matte to very shiny.
I did that with pieces of copper pipe.
Yeah, and then you see that shows perfect insulation. What you do, you crush, let's say out of 30,000 layers, you crush 20,000 of it. In the center, there is still nano layers. They are all nano layers, but not pushed close to each other. You don't destroy it even with pushing it. You don't put the nano layers together, what do you call it? You don't destroy it. You just crush them down. It's like a sponge. You squeeze it. You don't destroy it. You cannot destroy the nano layer. It doesn't make any difference in the resistance.
Some black powder comes off whenever I wipe it with a paper tissue.
Yeah, this is the top layers which are weak in gravitational magnetic field connected to the lower layers below. This is literally like your skin, Your skin looks perfectly attached to you till you wet it and then you rub it and then the skin comes off. Your top skin,
They say we lose a couple of pounds of a kilo or so of skin per day or something like that. It's an incredible amount of skin actually falls off our bodies. It's flakes.
That top layer is a skin which has got a loose magnetic connection with the bottoms. When you take it off, the rest is there.
I understand. I tried other things also. I tried to twist non-coated copper wire on the coated copper wire to make a more stable contact for making some measurements. And when I touched just gently, it was okay. It was high resistance and so on. But whenever I twisted them, already the resistance became zero. So here also, shall I apply the same method first to rub it until it's shiny?
Yes, what happened sometime when I do the testing is I push the point of the meter onto the skin of the nano coating on the copper wire. These are very, very, very thin. In some places you can literally penetrate through to the copper.
This is the problem I did. I'm afraid I penetrated to the copper.
Sometimes because it's just nano layers, so minute, you can penetrate it. We can scratch it off. There is something most probably all of you done. When you get a nano wire and you hold one end of the wire with one of the connections of your voltmeter, and you can move the other one up and down, and you see how you discharge the wire. Your voltage jumps up and down. And then you release it and go back again and do it again, and you see the charging is done. And the voltage on certain points is always the same. There is a process you have where you'll make wires to make your batteries, or you make system to make batteries, and you see it doesn't work because somewhere in the wire, in the length of the wire, the polarity has changed. Something in the process has created two polarity system. If you look very closely, you see the line of change of polarity. So we had this in the lab where we put so many containers, and suddenly in between one pot and the other pot, the polarity in one section changes opposite to the other. The same thing happens in your nanolayers.
So I understand.
And that happens when our wives walk in too, I guess, eh?
we gotta ask the man who did the test.
Well,
I wonder how the meter will show what value if the mistress walks in.
And I wonder how the meter would show if my ex walked in, because she's been dead for 3 years.
No, but emotions are part of our system. It's
Are you
amazing.
trying to make a lie detector there?
We already have it. You already have it, but you're not aware of it. You call it trust. I can trust you, or I can't trust you. It's your sensor in your lie detector. It's in a way your emotion says it matches me. You can't take more than what I can give you. But yes.
Can we create a lens to see the magnetic fields, plasmatic magnetic fields?
Yes.
It can be detectable for human eye?
You don't need you need a field detectors. What do you call like aurora detectors? You need that kind of thing. Very soon we'll be in possession of one. I'm working on one.
Mr. Kesh, along that line, I just read a physics article that came out just recently, a couple of days ago, about a new technique to sense the magnetic fields on the atomic level using a magnetic resonance technique, but not with the big extreme magnetic fields that they use normally for the nuclear magnetic resonance, or NMR. But instead using the Earth's own magnetic field as the field that's able, then since it's a weaker field, the field doesn't interfere with their ability to actually observe the atom and particles. This is supposedly a new technique. It may be something that proves useful.
Send me the link. Let's have a look.
Will do.
Do you ever sleep, Rick?
I try not to. I've actually been pretty tired this summer, though. I've had to sleep quite a bit.
The papers you read and the work you do and the lab you work at, the things you make, I think you're worse than me. 1 hour is too much.
I wish I could do more, actually. So.
I'm trying to write this paper to do with the nano layers and the Gans, and confirmation of the motion of the magnetic field, and more detailed information in that. So you can actually use other Ganses to show the field of the other Ganses. The same as we talked about the sandwiching. Now you do a nano layer against a nano layer, but if you can do nano layer of different composition and different between a sandwich between two other nano layers, you already should be able to see the Gans of the fields around them, or the layers, the brightness, the light in between the layers. This will show very soon. There are a lot of things happening which we have to wait till we get the collaboration and cooperation in a different way, and then it'll be done. We are going to a very important phase at the moment in the foundation in regarding the development, because we don't have the expertise or the facilities. We are joining up with other organizations who have the facilities and the expertise to support the work. So that will change a lot of, you will hear about very, very big changes in the foundation in the coming weeks and months. Very, very, but we don't announce them anymore that we don't get blocked. There are people who are trying to block. We notice when we announce things on the workshops, we start seeing problems in the background. So we ask our people to look into how this happens. Apparently the people who are the enemies of the foundation listen to this and they work immediately to stop the work. So we don't announce anymore. We change a lot of things in our security structure too. So it'll be like before, we just announce it when it happened or after it happened. It's the same thing as I said with the frogs. We don't need to announce it because now the job is done for a certain job or in working with another organization. Now the job is done. Now we'll see where we go next. There are a lot of people who see us as enemies instead of friends, but that's their problem. Let me say something. Can I mention something? A lot of people listen to these workshops. I thank those organizations who are trying to support us in different ways. And they offer their support in by different means and different ways of doing it. We are getting to the point that the ones who offer the support or different fields of support past 5 or 10 years, we have kept more or less all of your emails and your connections or your offers. We'll come back to you now that we are getting to that point. Yes, carry on.
Right. Well, I think maybe we should start wrapping things up here. It's 3 hours and almost 15 minutes. Or is there anybody else who's got any burning questions, or should we let Mr. Kesh finish his breakfast?
Well, my breakfast finished a long time ago. I get a small
Yeah, we heard the
express.
munching, right?
Yeah, I get
Actually, I'm amazed how you were able to eat and talk clearly at the same time. It's very good.
No, when you talk, I put it on the microphone shut off, and then I'll open it up.
Okay, very good. He's learning the
So
techniques. We've trained him well, guys.
I'm getting there slowly getting there.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that too. I keep punching the button, the little red button, and on Skype, and the call suddenly ends, and that happened last night accidentally.
Yeah, there is something I received on the email from Kerry Cassidy. If anybody wants to organize a program for her, the 1st of September. The Italians are still on holiday and asleep in hibernation. But anybody wants to organize a meeting for Kerry Cassidy in northern Italy, she's still available. The situation with our Maltese friend is the same. Hopefully they can organize their foundation and their work this week or next week. And then hopefully we announce opening of the Keshe Foundation Malta, and we invite people for the health section there. Anything else? Any other question, or we wind it up?
I think I got a quick one, and I think a lot of it's been answered on this workshop. But last night we were talking about JF's PDF file and his results, and we asked him about when he was making his next one. JF DuPont, he's the one that Rick was saying did the measurements.
John Francois, John Francois is the JF part. Go ahead, Vince.
What has he done?
Well, he's creating another reactor, and so he'll have a twinity. I guess a twinity of itself, because the first one is also a dual core. But I was advising him to, if he wants to try to take the plasma out of the original one and balance it into the other one, to do what you guys did, which was run the nano-coated wire from the north of the primary to the south of the new one, and vice versa as well. And I tried to explain that as the plasma wire will interact with the fields that are created from inside the plasma that he's already created. It should be moved along the wire via those fields into the secondary reactor. Does that sound like something he should possibly do?
The energy reactor, which came in from Belgium, which was for a long time hanging in the center core, that reactor has been preset for transfer of plasma. The way we have done it is that we have a center core, we have a main core, outer core, we have a middle core, and we have a center core. The whole of this center core pipe to its feeding point is totally nano-coated internally. It took me a long time to nano-coat it. So it's ready for a nano pipe to be added to it. All we have to do is just to where we are feeding now with a rotating valve to change it to a nano-coated pipe to transfer plasma into another reactor. To transfer plasma from one core to another, you need a nano-coat piping. You cannot do it by wire.
Copper pipe, I presume, might be a good choice. Yes. A flexible copper pipe.
I've already discussed that with the knowledge seekers when they were here. The only reactor which we have set for a transfer of plasma is the original energy plasma. It's been set for this job. The pipes have already been nano-coated heavily, internally, in all three layers, and in the feeding pipes. All the feeding pipes in that reactor are nano-coated. Because then the plasma does not come in touch with physicality to change itself. It moves through the same pipe. Then you create the same as you create a vacuum condition, different. The vacuum condition in our reactors is a different pressure level. You create a different magnetic gravitational level, a strength in one reactor, and then you get it transferred from one to another. This is how in the future you don't start with a hydrogen to build up your reactor or change the plasma of the reactor or increase the mass. You use a bank, you use a reserve plasma bank, and you just take it from there through coated nanomaterials. These coated nanomaterials, the way you are doing it and you talk about it so, what do you call it, offhand, as so to say, it is a dream of the plasma physicist. A lot of plasma physicists are getting to understand how to do it for the first time through these workshops. Because the nano layer is a plasmatic, it's no matter, it's all fields, as we explained. That's why you can't, what you call, weld them or solder them together. The plasma literally floats on a carpet of magnetic tube. One of the easiest way to do it is make a copper tube fully nano-coated externally and internally, and then melt the copper out. Then you can transfer plasma perfectly from one reactor core to another. This is very, 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 very important for the future of the plasma. But energy reactor was set to do this. You can't do it with a wire. The reason we used the copper wire was to make the connection between the plasma as a field. But the transfer of the plasma has to be done through the tubing.
Right, so he still has to create a plasma in the second one, but then he can use the wire to create the connection and the balance between the two.
Yes, but the way you create the second plasma of different mass is that you after we done that here with the knowledge seekers. We will spend days and days. We keep on increasing the mass of plasma. What we do, we put hydrogen on a regular basis, and we add like nitrogen to create a plasma. We add to the mass of the plasma. Let's say you do that 20 times in one and 10 times in the other. So you have a ratio of 1 to 2 in the plasma mass, considering that you achieve the plasmification of the same quantity. So then you know you can transfer from the what do you call it, bigger mass by plasma pressure, or to the smaller mass by weaker plasma. But then you have to create the opposite to be able to interact it. So when you build up your plasma tanks in the future, you have to understand the process of holding the plasma in plasma mass in respect to the place you're sending it to. It's like opening a tap with a pressure pump or creating vacuum and pulling it in. You can do both ways with the plasma, but you need a plasma tubing, and the plasma tubing is you build up the best way to do it is to nano-coat internally a copper wire that you have a physicality you can work with. Don't coat your nano pipe from outside. You can do it for the insulation, but you absorb a lot of energy outside into the copper pipe and has a lot of plasma transfer, which can cause problems in your reactor. So what you do, you put like caustic in the center in the tube, and you lock the two ends, but you make your tube first exactly to the where it's got to be connected, where it has to be, where the connection has to be, and then you coat it, and then you connect it. But at the same time, make sure that your connection is pure enough that you don't create salt in your pipe. Then damages your piping and all your system and your reactor. It's a very easy process, but you have to do it systematically. Then you connect the pipe from one reactor to the other reactor, and then you can transfer plasma. It's the only way you can do it. There is no other way. There is another way to do. If you break the core, open the core, if you can hold on to the plasma internally as a center point, then you can use the piping without any matter. That can be done, but then you have an interaction, and then you have a condition between the matter state plasma and the plasma in the plasma condition between your nanopipes and your plasmas, and the interface between the plasmas. So you literally, what you do is like blowing at your reactor. When you break your reactors, it's like two suns. They don't have a containment. But what you do, you allow the tube to blow from one to another. So you spray it like a dust on the top, and it gets absorbed into the center. It's a beautiful way to do it. This is done in the space technology for deep space production of materials. So if you want to go from copper, let's say, to gold, you do it that way, and you make it, you decide the alloy condition or water condition if you want to do it. It's done by a lot of races in the space. Next question, if there is any more.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh.
You're quite welcome. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope we're going to step further in the knowledge, and we'll see what we do next week. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We really covered a lot tonight. It was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. Bye-bye. But thanks, Armin. Bye-bye.
All right. That was the 24th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. That was a good one.
I think that was one for the history books, yeah.
Yep, I was late. My God.
Don't worry, you can get the audio of the workshop at the new Google Drive that will be posted in Facebook.
There you go.
Yep.
So that's a big hint on the live stream before we shut off to stop here. Anything else you want to bring up or suggest before I shut the live stream?
No.
Okay.
John, anything?
Well, I would just say that I'm trying to do my best between my family and the work I have to do.
Sorry I didn't bring you in there, John. I should have brought you up there, but you're sort of a little quieter tonight, so.
Yes, but what should be done in the measurements, Vince, is to see what AC comes in. Because when we have some power supply, energy power supply, we always have some AC. And if you look with an oscilloscope, you could see the frequency of the AC. So you can
I wish I had one.
Separate what is interference to what is a real collection of AC.
Exactly. Yeah,
Vince,
this is the preliminary, right?
Vince, you might consider an iPhone oscilloscope app. I've actually got one of those. They're fairly cheap, a few bucks. It might work.
Well,
I think one for the computer would be better. I see some software ones out there.
Yes, but you have to see the spectrum that oscilloscope can collect. Normally 60 hertz for you would be the mains frequency. And you have also all the frequencies coming from the aerials of your cell phones and all that. So you have a lot of interference coming in. Well, anyway, you can see if you can have some DC coming out of that IAC, that the nano coating is behaving as a diode, a semiconductor PN junction.
Yeah, I get AC and DC. I've had up as much as 500 millivolts off the DC end of things.
Yeah. So
we'll just continue, make it better.
Yes, we have to continue. And in fact, for me, I gave a picture to Rick. I don't know if it has been shown or not, but I have been making a connection from wires. One side were uncoated and another side coated, twisting them together and putting that to a capacitor. I saw there have been a lot of discussion about what's the good capacitor or not. Any capacitor is good. But what I saw is that I think I had some, when I was making the connection, I have had some voltage coming onto the capacitor, and after a certain time, that capacitor just discharged, and there was nothing more coming in. So what I made is not yet the solution for what we have to understand. There's still some things that have to be changed and put in a way that will continue to collect electricity. It's always a conversion between the plasma and the electron movement.
Yes, completely agree. It's the plasma force could be great, but we need an electron force.
That's what is that is what is useful, and there are still a lot of aspects that have to be understood.
Yeah, I was talking to Brett today, and we were talking about this, and there's either two ways to go, and that's to make everything run on a plasma force, or to change the plasma into an electron via what we already have, as in capacitors or batteries or whatever else we have, to convert that back into an electron force.
Yeah. Anyway, we still
But I
have
was
a
able to
lot.
charge a little battery off of it, so it's a beginning, right? It's the beginning.
Yeah, yes. Well, we are reaching some.
And I would say don't keep the prior knowledge of the laws of voltage and amperage when you're dealing with this stuff, because it seems to be just right out the window for me, at least.
I agree. I've had too many bizarre effects take place to believe any of the regular formulas. I mean, there might be formulas that could explain all the different effects, but you'd have to add in everything from capacitance to high and low voltages and AC and DC and a bunch of other quantum effects and mind control and all kinds of things that you would be up to your neck in formulas trying to figure it all out, when the direct observation of what's going on is much more valuable.
Yeah,
I think, you know how we've had the problem, or they've had the problem with quantum computers. This could be a way to run that quantum computer, because we're already dealing with the plasma in the terms of the computer, and this is a good way to provide that power. But we're not at that point yet, right?
Well, the plasma is something completely different, and that's towards where we have to go in the understanding. When we deal with electrons, we know we have all what has been demonstrated. What is not known is what is to be understood with the plasma.
Sounds right to me.
And as soon as we have the interference of both, that is also something else. How does the plasma will push the electron to move the way we wish to have it moving? Well, still a lot to understand.
Yeah, that's the real trick, is to get moving.
Yes. Yeah.
Much, John. And so that's the end of the 24th workshop. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.